You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Whitaker, the defendant was your best friend, and it is your claim that she stole $800 out of a duffel bag. In that duffel bag was also some sort of hair straightening device, so you're suing her for the value of that. First of all, why was there cash in a duffel bag?
Because we were out all day long, so I left the cash in the duffel bag so that I didn't lose it, because $800 is a lot to have carrying around.
What was $800 doing in your duffel bag?
I had used it to get my car fixed. My boyfriend had lent it to me so I could fix my car.
When did your boyfriend give you $800 to fix your car?
He's over in Iraq right now, so he had sent me his ATM card with his PIN number, so he had let me withdraw the money from the ATM.
Why didn't you leave the money home?
Because I hadn't been home in the time that I had withdrew the money.
Oh, you said, I withdrew the money on approximately 5 separate occasions.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I'm asking you is, why didn't you leave the money home? The answer is not that you weren't home. You were home in between those 5 different days that you deposited the money.
No, ma'am, I was not. I was with Danielle the entire time. I had not been home once.
Over how many days did you withdraw the money?
2, the 13th and the 14th of March.
So you were keeping it in the duffel bag to fix your car?
Yes, ma'am. The duffel bag was at Danielle's house the entire time.
Why are you looking so ridiculously funny?
I'm not. I just think it's funny because it's not. None of it's true. I just know that none of it's true, so I'm just listening to what she's saying.
Who else lives in Danielle's house?
At the time, only her sister's boyfriend.
What's your sister's boyfriend's name?
Zach.
Why was he staying with you?
It's my sister and her boyfriend's house. She moved in when they started dating. Now they're engaged, so.
So you were staying with them?
Yes, I was living with my sister in Spring Hill.
They weren't living with her. She moved in with her sister and her sister's boyfriend.
Correct.
On what date did you find the duffel bag missing?
The 15th, we'd had a fight. My duffel bag was still at her house. She had spent the night at my house the previous night. We had a fight, so I made her leave, and like 20 minutes after I realized, so I called her and she told me that I wasn't getting it back.
Okay, you made her leave. What did you say to her?
We just got into a fight. We were screaming at each other, and she just left, and I told her just get out.
What did you say when you called her 20 minutes later?
I just told her that because I had clothes and my hair straightener and everything, I just told her that I needed it all back, and she told me
No, just a second. Did you say anything about cash?
No, ma'am.
You just said my duffel bag is there and I have stuff in it?
Yes.
What did you say? Tell me what
Just
you
that
said.
my duffel bag was still there and I needed it back.
And what did she say?
She told me that I wasn't going to get it back.
Why did you say that to her?
I did not say that to her
Yes,
at
you
all.
did. There's no
I
question
didn't.
in my mind you said that to
No,
her.
ma'am,
Can I
there's
say
no question
something?
in my
Not
mind
yet.
that I didn't say it. There was no phone calls. There was about 6 text messages first on the phone, and then it was followed by her calling me and threatening me.
Okay, well,
So
what did the text...
I didn't call her at all.
I didn't say you called her.
Okay.
I didn't say you called her.
No, I know.
You're not paying attention.
I just said
You're
she
not
called
paying
me.
it.
I was just letting you know she was the one that called me.
That's what she said.
Okay. I was just confirming the fact that she was right, that she did call me. Oh, my God.
Something wrong with your affect. Pay attention.
No.
Put on your listening ears. What did you say when she called you and told you about the duffel bag?
She didn't say anything about the duffel bag.
What did she call you for?
She told, when we were previously at her house, she mentioned something.
No. When you had a fight and
Okay.
you left.
Yeah.
Listen to me very carefully. When you had a fight and you left, she called you. That you just told me happened. What did she say when she called you?
She said that she, to come back to the house, that she was going to stab me. It had nothing to do about the duffel bag.
She said, come back to the house because I'm going to stab you?
Yeah. And I called, and then after her phone call, I called up her mother and let her know that she called me and said that. This is my best friend since I was about 5 years old. I went to his house. I was crying, upset. It's about 25 minutes back to my sister's house. I didn't want to drive back there upset because I knew, you just don't want to drive when you're upset. So I stopped at his house, and that was about the time she did like 6 text messages. And about 5 minutes after I got to his house, he was actually sitting there when she made that phone call. And then I called her mother, and I actually called the police. And I told them that I didn't have time to do a full report because I had to get back up to my sister's house to have her car back so she could get to work. But I told them that I was scared and that I just wanted to call in and at least let them know and give them the names. And they said, okay.
Where's her duffel bag?
Her duffel bag was still at my house. But it takes about 25 minutes there and back. So I didn't want to go all the way back up there and then come back. Told her
I
she
just
could come.
asked you a question. Where was the duffel bag?
It was still at my house.
And what happened when you got to your house?
Got to my house. My sister used her car, and I stayed there.
What did you do with the duffel bag?
It stayed there. I didn't touch the duffel bag.
How did your sister get hold of her hair straightener?
Because I lived there. About 2 days later, I moved out, and I left it there by accident. And my sister
Just a
hadn't
second.
brought it back yet.
Okay.
But I don't.
How did your sister get her hair straightener? Because I read your answer.
Because
What?
I lived with her.
Well, what was she doing going into the duffel bag? Was she a thief?
Her and she let me use the straightener before we left to go to
The
her
duffel bag was, the hair straightener was in the duffel
no,
bag.
No, it wasn't. It was in my bathroom plugged in because right before we left to go hang out with a few of our friends, go back towards her house, we did our hair, so it was left in my bathroom plugged in.
Is
And
that
we turned
correct?
it off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So now where's the duffel bag?
On my rack in my bedroom because I didn't have a closet. I had a rack with my clothes on it, so it was on the bottom rack.
So who stole her money?
There was no money in it.
Oh, yeah, she's going to show me proof that she took money out.
Oh, I bet she did take money out, but there was no cash in the duffel bag.
How do you know that?
One, because
How do you know that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm very reluctant to make a judgment that somebody took property, because to label somebody a thief, as far as I'm concerned, is a very serious thing.
And later today,
One night we hung out and had relations.
When was it?
About January 15th.
I assume that either you were disappointed with January 15th or you found his behavior somewhat bizarre.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Whitaker claims former friend Danielle Kahneman stole $800 from her duffel bag. Danielle says Elizabeth spent the $800 on drugs.
Madam, I asked you a simple question. You're giving me all kinds of
doesn't
mumbo
make sense
jumbo.
to me.
How did you know there was no cash in the duffel bag?
Because my friend Sam called me up and said that Beth was calling her up to ask her for cocaine. I was worried about it, and that's when I called her boyfriend. But she was my best friend. If there was cash in her duffel bag, don't you think she would have said something to me when she asked me to bring back the duffel bag?
Not if you had just had a fight.
Okay, well, 3 weeks after, when she actually came and picked it up, she never said one word to my mom or anything about the cash either. I have not heard one thing about cash.
Well,
ever.
when was the first time did you hear about cash?
When I got served, when I found out about
When
this.
was the first time, Miss Whitaker, that you advised anybody that there was cash in that duffel bag?
I had told my mother, and the night that she had called my mother had questioned her about the money in the bag.
Could you stand up, please? Mrs. Whitaker?
Yes,
You spoke to the defendant?
yes.
When?
The night they had the fight.
Tell me about the conversation.
She called me, actually, to get a number out of Beth's phone that she wanted.
What
when
did she say to you? Tell me what she said.
That's exactly what she said. Can you get a number out of the phone for me?
Whose number was it?
I don't know. I didn't ask her.
Go ahead.
And I said to her, Danielle, what happened to the money? And she launches into this big thing that she didn't even know Beth had any money, and if Beth ever told her there was any money. And I said, Danielle, she's been with you for the last 3 or 4 days. You're the only one she's been with. I didn't take her to the bank, so you must have.
What did she say?
She said, well, the only thing I can think of is that I stopped at the grocery store and Beth wanted to wait in the car, and that's when she must have done it. And I said, Danielle, that doesn't make any kind of sense. And she says, well, you know, Beth hasn't been making any sense lately. She's been acting really crazy, and that's what people on drugs do. And she goes on to tell me that we can get her help and that we can get her into rehab. And I said, Danielle, what happened to the money? And Danielle said to me, well, the drug dealer must have it. And I said, well, you must have taken her to the drug dealer because I know I didn't. And then she said, well, I don't know how she got to the drug dealer. And then she says to me that she contacted Beth's boyfriend, Richard. She said that she and Richard had been friends for a long time and she wasn't going to let this come between her, you know, affect her and Richard's friendship. And she said that she called Richard and set up a 3-way conversation, and Beth didn't know that Richard was on the other line. And she said that she confronted Beth about spending the money on drugs, and she said that she just couldn't believe that Beth had spent $800 of Richard's money on drugs. And I said to her, Danielle, how did you know it was $800? And she said, because Richard told me. And I said, Danielle, Richard's in Iraq. He doesn't have a cell phone. You couldn't have called him. Then she said that her mother was trying to call her and she would call me back, and needless to say, I never heard from her again.
You still have the boyfriend in Iraq?
Yes, ma'am.
You have something you want to say to me?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, when she had called, I was there for the conversation, when they had the argument, she came to my house crying, that she was like, I could hear her over the line, she was screaming very loudly at her, like, you know, threatening her. It's like, you need to come back to the house so I can kick you. You know, I'm going to stab you, da-da-da. You know, she came to my house in Iraq. I mean, I couldn't believe, like, what she could probably have said to her to, like, you know,
I
have
can't
her.
believe it either. Now you can sit down. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Did you have that conversation with Mrs. Whitaker?
Some of it, yes.
What didn't you say to her?
I don't know
Promise
what
not
I
an
didn't
answer.
say to her, but I know what I did say to her. She didn't ask me about an actual amount of money. What she asked was, she told me she found some ATM.
So you knew about the, just a second. So you knew about the money, the missing money. Listen to me. So you knew about the missing money the same day as it was missing.
I knew that she said she found withdrawal receipts, so I didn't know anything about the duffel bag, cash being in the duffel bag. She just told me she found withdrawal receipts and said that Beth spent some money. I had no idea there would be money at my house. There couldn't have been money at my house, because there was no conversation about that until obviously now.
No,
Her mom
there
told
was
me
a
that there was-
conversation about it with her mother the same day that it happened. And
But
usually,
it had nothing to do-
I am, yes, it had to do with that money.
Not with my house, though. She called me up and said that she found withdrawal receipts and she wanted to know if I knew anything about it. I told her no, that I never brought her to the bank, and that's all that I knew.
And you didn't discuss with her a three-way conversation?
No, I don't have her boyfriend's cell phone number.
All I'm asking you is, you didn't discuss a three-way conversation with her?
No.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay.
How's that?
That's
How's
fine.
that? Don't believe you. Okay. I'm very, very reluctant on circumstantial type evidence when other people have access to property to make a judgment that somebody took property. I'm reluctant to do that because to label somebody a thief, as far as I'm concerned, is a very serious thing. There is no question in my mind that you either took it or know who took the money out of her duffel bag. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
All right, let's go. Who would have $800 cash in a duffel bag and not come and get it for 3 weeks?
I tried to get everything back, and it was just, she just kept pulling me in circles.
Her boyfriend's away in Iraq. She was spending a lot of time stuck on the computer talking to him.
We did get into an argument about me talking to my boyfriend.
She was just spending more time on the phone with him than she was spending time with me.
I miss him.
I don't know exactly what was going on with the drugs, but if there was something going on, then, I mean, I feel sorry for her.
She's the one with the drug problem.
We were best friends.
I do feel sorry for her, though, honestly, and just, I hope everything works out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Givens versus Delgado. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Jeffrey Givens is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Sierra Delgado, for a loan to put a down payment on a new apartment.
Mr. Givens, it is your claim that you made a loan to Miss Delgado in the amount of $700. She was a friend of yours. Miss Delgado says that she accepted the $700 from you because she needed some money and it was a gift. How long do you know her?
Your Honor, I have known Miss Delgado since January. I met her at Bartending Academy, and I think that the gift part of that whole story that you just gave me is an utter fabrication.
You have a copy of your check?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a copy of the check and the date.
Check is for $1,000, sir. What was the $1,000 for?
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to pull out $1,000, and she gave me $300 back. So I am suing for $700.
Tell me how it came about, sir, that you knew that she needed $700.
Your Honor, she asked me for money to help pay for her deposit on her new apartment.
When was this?
This was probably January 28th, and I gave the money to her on February 1st.
So you had known her less than a month.
Correct.
Why did you approach him about needing money?
Well, we had met at the Bartending Academy, and we had a friendship going. One night we hung out, and we had relations. After that, I told him I didn't want anything other than a friendship.
Well, when did your relationship with the plaintiff become more than just a friendship?
I would say it was just a one-night stand.
When?
This was in January, the end of January.
Give me the date.
I don't remember the date. We were drinking.
Think about it.
Oh, well, the beginning of January. I'm sorry.
You're testing my patience. Other than bartending school, what else do you do?
I work at 2 restaurants.
And you?
I am a student, Your Honor, and I
Where?
just got out of the Navy, University of San Diego.
Are you a full-time student or a part-time
Your
student?
Honor, I am a full-time student, biology major.
Who supports you?
I support myself, Your Honor. I was in the Navy, and I have money left over. I have loans, and the military is supporting me a little bit with the GI Bill.
Where were you in service?
I served in Japan, and I served in San Diego.
When were you in Japan?
From 2000 to 2004. And I was in San Diego from 2004 to 2006, October 23rd. That's when I got out.
Do you remember the time that you had an intimate relationship with the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was it?
It was about January 15th, because that was when Bartending Academy was going on.
And was it after that that she said she only wanted to be friends?
Correct. I did want to be in a relationship with her. She didn't want to, so I cut it off. I had a new relationship going when I gave her the money. So I thought, since I was a personal trainer as well, and I thought, since I can't be your significant other or whatever that may be, I would like to be your friend, personal trainer. I tried to help her. When I sat down with her at the Cheesecake Factory, I gave her a goal list. This was my way of a contract. It's not a contract, but I was trying to help her. I bent over backwards for this young lady.
This is my friend Veronica. She was...
How long has she been your friend?
Since junior high. She's one of the first people that I said, you know, hey, I tell her my problems, and I would have had the money by the end of February, but the girl I was taking the contract over with said she wanted it at the beginning of the month, so I wasn't prepared for that, and I sent Mr. Gibbons a text message, hey, how do you get $700 in a day? Just, you know, joking. He was a friend, and he jokingly said, stand on the corner of El Cajon Boulevard.
That's a tease.
Yeah.
Madam, you owe him $700.
I don't owe him any money.
Yes, you do!
He gave it to me as a gift.
No, he gave it to you under false pretenses.
Your Honor, I haven't...
No,
I'm speaking. If you had already made a decision, Miss Delgado, that all you wanted was a friendship, if anything, because I assumed that either you were disappointed with January 15th or you found his behavior somewhat bizarre. Either way, I don't care if you go into a homeless shelter. You don't take money from him under false pretenses, and you don't coyly send him a text message, hey, when you know that he wants more from you than you were willing to give him. How do you get $700 in a day? That you may say to your mother or your father. That you may say to your brother or your sister. That you don't say to a guy who is clearly wearing his heart on his sleeve, because that is unkind and cruel and fraudulent. You owe him $700. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Right group. Your Honor, this is case number 391 on the calendar in the matter of Flores Harrison versus Harrison. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Who is Miss Flores?
That's me, Your Honor.
Miss Flores, this is your daughter
Yes, ma'am.
and her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your sister.
Correct.
You all claim that Miss Harrison made false charges to the Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services came into your home and removed your infant daughter for a period of 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that because of these false charges, you were forced to hire a lawyer because you tried to get custody of the child from the state.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an interesting legal theory, one that I've never heard before. Ms. Harrison says her niece, the baby, was in fact born drug addicted with drugs in her system. And Child Protective Services became involved in your case well before any recent phone call, which she says she did not make, but she knows who did. So I guess my first question is to you. Was your daughter born with drugs in her system?
No, ma'am.
Did she test positive for drugs in her system?
No, ma'am.
Was Child Protective Services at the hospital at all when your daughter was born?
Yes, ma'am.
And were they at the hospital to see you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they have a file on you?
Yes, ma'am.
So that your first foray to Child Protective Services had nothing to do with either the defendant or anybody else who might have called?
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you brought your daughter home, you were allowed to take her home from the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did she weigh when she was born?
6'8".
And how long was she in the hospital before you took her home?
We were there 2 days.
And after 2 days, you did take her home directly?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I stayed at my mom's for a little bit because I was nervous on what to do with the newborn baby.
Just a minute. Was the baby released to you or your mother? Was the baby released to you or your mother?
My mother.
I worked, lived, ate, and slept in the family court for 25 years. You think that I'm asking these questions because I don't know?
No, ma'am.
So your daughter was not released to you, but was released to your mother from the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you think that was? I had children.
Because
I was a young mother and certainly inexperienced, but they didn't say you have to take the baby home to your mother's house. They said goodbye, good luck, keep your fingers crossed, you know, hopefully these kids will survive. So why do you think the baby was released to your mother?
Because they claim that she tested positive for cocaine and marijuana, which she did not, Your Honor.
You mean the claim was that she tested, but you said that the tests were wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. You have the papers that show me the tests were wrong?
We have my drug test. We finally got the copy of it.
Let me see it. Well, it says presumptive positive.
For opiates which were given to her in the hospital during the birth.
It says presumptive positive.
Your Honor, I had Demerol and epidural. That drug test was taken after I had my daughter.
Now, you tell me when the second alleged contact with Child Protective Services was from your sister-in-law. You believe it's from your sister-in-law. You have no proof that it's from your sister-in-law.
There was an argument between these two one day on March 31st. All of us were together. We were at a friend of mine's house. David was to meet us there. He was at work, and he showed up, and he was on the phone with his sister, and they were having a huge argument.
What were you having an argument about, David?
She had called and said that she was pregnant with twins.
Put your hand down. Your sister said she was pregnant with twins.
That's
Go ahead,
correct.
and?
So after we talked about that and what was going to happen, I called my Aunt Melissa to let her know, because, you know, my Aunt Melissa knows everything in the family, what's going on.
So your
She's
sister,
basically
your sister is confiding in you, and you called your Aunt Melissa.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So after we hung up with my sister, my Aunt Melissa called Diane and talked about it.
Our aunt.
Our aunt.
Who didn't know about your plan.
And the reason why I told him that was because I told him prior to that, 6 months before that I don't want to talk to him anymore. And he called me bragging about, oh, well, I'm going to get a car and blah, 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 blah. And I was at my place of employment. And I told him, I said, I don't trust you. I don't want to talk to you. I told you, don't call me anymore. And then I said, you want to know why I don't trust you? And he said, why? And I said, because I'm pregnant with twins. And just to see what he would do, he went and he told all of my family members everything, and then we got into a fight. He
Are you
called me
pregnant
back.
with twins?
No.
That was a good one.
I see. See?
That was a good one. So that made you look pretty.
Sorry.
That made you look pretty foolish.
I sure did.
Well, serves you right.
And that's why we fought.
Serves you right. You were a gossip. So she got you good. Anyway, go ahead. So then they got into a
She
big fight.
continued
Go ahead.
to call for at least 8 hours that day. She was yelling and screaming. Everybody in
Fine.
the room could
She
hear
was
it.
yelling and screaming.
That
Good.
she was going to call CPS and have the baby taken away. She said this, I don't know how many times the phone calls went on, until 9:15 that night.
Okay. When did the Child Protective Services come to your house?
The next morning. They told us the phone call was placed at 9:30 p.m. that night.
Okay. And?
They said that there was a report that they had been out partying, doing cocaine and heroin, and had left the baby alone for over a period of 3 hours, that there were dog feces on the floor, that the house had cockroaches, and was a total mess. I have proof that none of that is true.
Whose house did they come to?
To their apartment.
Well, I assume they looked around your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And if they looked around your apartment, they saw that it was in good order.
Yes, ma'am.
So then they wouldn't have taken the baby.
Yes, ma'am.
They had to investigate.
Well, they could investigate, but they don't necessarily take the child unless there's a prior history.
We had to immediately go to emergency hearing and take drug tests, which proved that we weren't doped up the night before.
So then my question is, why was the child out of your custody for 3 months?
Because they said that I tested positive for marijuana, which I didn't when they gave me a drug test at the hospital.
They said that you tested positive for marijuana when?
At the birth of
At
the
the
child.
birth of the child.
Did you do a hair follicle test?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. We have all those results.
Can I see them, please? What's all about recovery?
That was where I had to take my drug test after the child was removed. The part where it mentions that my hair test and everything came out, because we can't actually have records of those because the court ordered it, is in these court transcripts that we brought along
Can I
as well.
see it, please? What?
I just wanted to say they know how to pass drug tests because my brother was on probation for 6 months and he used a cleaner and he was able to pass his whole 6 months through probation. So he knows how to clean out his system.
Well, you may clean out your system, but you can't
You don't
clean out
clean
your
out a
hair.
hair follicle test.
Good try.
And can I say one more thing?
I don't see where this says that a hair follicle test came up negative.
That's them saying that all
That's
my
the
tests were
court transcript
negative.
that says that they came up negative.
Right.
Listen to me. We don't believe the child was in any kind of jeopardy when she showed up. We don't believe the mother was under the influence, and we did a drug test to prove that. That doesn't say it was a hair follicle
They do
test.
both
They
at
do
the
both.
same time.
Listen to me. That's not what this says.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm telling you, what she did was disgusting.
And later today,
I was actually under heavy drug use at that
So whose
point.
fault is that? Mine?
No.
Christina Harrison and husband David claim David's sister, Diane Harrison, told CPS that Christina and David's baby was born drug addicted.
Now, did you call Child Protective Services?
No.
Who did?
One of my friends.
Why?
One of actually me and Christina's mutual friends.
Did the person call from your home?
No, from my cell phone.
From your cell phone?
Because David was talking to a bunch of people when we got into an argument, saying I'm gonna, certain things about fighting.
Stop clicking your nails.
Sorry. He was saying certain things to certain people that were very upset, and he was making threats to me and to my friends, and that's why that happened.
He was making threats to you and your friends about what?
Because we had gotten into an argument.
Well, what kind of threats was he making?
That he was going to kick my butt and he was going to do something to me and stuff like that.
You're absolutely right. She called because she was vindictive.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right. You did the wrong thing, you were a gossip, whatever. But her phone call to CPS, and what she did was she either did it herself or she furnished the phone for this friend to do it for her.
It's like buying a hit assassin.
For her, was done vindictively. Because if it wasn't done vindictively, the timing was miraculously convenient for a time when the two of you had a fight. And that's pretty awful to have done. Awful.
But I didn't do it.
Listen,
I know that's your opinion.
You may explain to me that your girlfriend did it from your phone in your presence because you gave her the phone. What I'm saying to you is you were responsible for the call being placed to Child Protective Services, and you were responsible for doing it over nothing that had to do with the welfare of the child, only what had to do with the fact that you were angry with your brother. And that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you caused everybody a great deal of grief, and you're a big baby. Who are you?
I'm her mother.
You're her mother? I'm telling you, what she did was disgusting. Now, if she had been concerned about the baby, and if she had made this phone call a month before, 2 months before, when there was nothing that was transpiring between her and her brother, I would say, listen, you have a right to do that if you have a concern. Put your hand down. But she called because she had a fight with them, and because her brother threatened to kick her, and because she said, and put your hand down, and because she said, oh yeah, I'm going to get even with you. What?
Well, I would just like to say that...
Stand up if you'd like to say something.
Even if their mutual friend made the phone call, the mutual friend was also angry with Christina. And evidently they had been drinking, whatever, talking, blah, blah, blah. And the girl who was angry with Christina...
Who was drinking?
My daughter...
I want you to be quiet. Who was drinking?
When my son and my daughter got into an argument, they had gotten onto this argument over the cell phone. Like, they've argued since, like...
I asked you a question. Who had been drinking?
Evidently, it was my daughter and a group of her friends.
That's right.
And the friend who has evidently some type of anger towards Christina used my daughter's cell phone to call.
That's baloney. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there,
Sit
but
down.
that's what I was told.
Sit down. By who? By her?
Yeah.
Sit down. Your daughter inspired this call because she had a fight with her brother. And the fact that they were drinking was even worse. You see, your daughter was going to say he was drinking, but that's not what you said. You said, put your hand down. You said my daughter was drinking with a group of her friends. Put your hand down. That's what you just said. You're absolutely right.
But
She's a vicious, vindictive, and what she did was cause a great deal of distress to you and your family for no reason whatsoever. And the only reason she did it is because she was angry and maybe a little loaded. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After Diane called CPS and the baby got taken away, his mom calls and says, you need a DNA test. That's not your baby.
Christina, she's selfish, and she just wants to take my brother away from me.
It was a spiteful phone call.
You can't just, because of spite, put a burden on somebody like that.
Instead of calling, oh my God, your baby got taken away, I'm so sorry, it's get DNA test.
She wouldn't let him hang out and see us and party.
When you have kids, you have to grow up.
I want to move up in life, not stay around partying.
Time heals all wounds, maybe we'll be able to rekindle something.
It's over, I'm past, I've moved on, let it go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robertson versus Young. Step forward.
23-year-old Stephanie Robertson is suing ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Derek Young, for a $500 loan. Derek claims that Stephanie is a cocaine dealer.
Miss Robertson, for some reason that, quite frankly, after seeing the two of you, I don't understand, this used to be your boyfriend.
Right.
And according to your complaint, you loaned him $500 to fix his car. He was supposed to pay you back, and he didn't. Then he took off for a while. And Mr. Young acknowledged drug money.
That's not true.
He said you were selling drugs and you were giving the drugs to him to sell because he was a drug addict. You were not addicted to drugs. That's your story. She was not a user. She was a seller. She was giving you the drugs to sell because you had that circle of friends because you were an addict.
Right.
And you were using the drugs yourself.
Correct.
And she should have known that you were using the drugs yourself because you're an addict.
Was an addict.
And you don't owe her any money.
I don't believe I owe her anything.
The money I lent to him was a birthday present from my dad.
That's your father?
Yeah.
You gave her money for her birthday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
What?
That was actually not birthday money. It was her college fund money.
Oh, so you know about the $500?
Well, no, she bought the drugs with the college fund money, and then she was trying to get me to sell the drugs for her.
Okay. So her dad gave her $500 from her college fund, and she bought drugs with that money.
The money was from the state.
The money was from?
The state.
State from where?
Of Michigan.
For what?
Michigan assessment test. They give you $500 for college if you pass it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
or if
great.
you get high scores.
Did you get that money from the state of Michigan? It's easy enough to find out.
The money was from my dad.
Did you get $500 from the state of Michigan for taking a
I
test?
got a scholarship from the state of Michigan.
For how much?
It was like $1,500.
Did you get it in cash?
No, it was a scholarship.
Okay, fine. So tell me about this $500.
He wanted to borrow $500 from me to fix his car. His transmission went out or something.
Well, tell me how it happened. Tell me what he said to you, what you said to him.
He told me his transmission was out or something. He needed to fix his car. At the time, we were still getting along. We wanted to go on like a road trip. Do
you want to be someplace else other than here?
No.
Well, then do you think that you could tell me this story in a cogent manner so that I can understand it and we can move on to some more pressing business? My father gave me birthday money on what date?
I don't remember the exact date. It was probably...
Well, when's your birthday? Do you know that?
May 20th.
And when did you give the money to him?
I think it was in July. He signed a promissory note, July 20th, 2006.
You have a note?
Yeah.
Let me see it. Yes, it would be the answer, Miss Robertson.
Yes, sorry.
Did you use that scholarship money to go to college?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Stay in school. Now, Mr. Young, I have a note here, signed by you, that says, I, Derek Young, declare, D-E-C-L-A-I-R, that I owe Stephanie $500 with the dollar sign in the wrong place.
At that time...
Huh? What?
I was actually under heavy drug use.
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No.
Whose fault is that?
It's mine.
Good.
And I'm clean.
Pay her the money.
But there was never any money to begin with. It was all cocaine.
It's possible. How do I know that? It says that you owe her the money.
No. I was under heavy drug use. I don't...
Come on. Come on. Stop it. I'm going to say it one more time. Then you're all leaving. Do you understand?
I believe that I was in the right state of mind. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Happens to me a lot, sir, that I sometimes feel as if I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I mean...
Like right now. Like this moment. I say to myself, you spent 2 decades preparing yourself educationally to be a judge. Another 30, perhaps, life skills and everything else. And here I am adjudicating this nonsense with somebody who's telling me I don't know what I was doing when I signed that note because I was probably on drugs.
No, I was definitely on drugs.
How do you know?
Because...
On what date did you sign the note?
I don't know.
See, so how do you know that you were on drugs on the day you signed the note?
I was a heroin addict.
What?
I was a heroin addict and a coke user.
So maybe at that time when you were a heroin addict and a coke user, you said to her, I need $500 to fix my car. If you don't know what you were doing.
I didn't have a car.
You didn't have a car?
No.
You never had a car?
I sold my car before any of this happened.
Well, on what date did you sell your car?
Oh, I don't know.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Do me a favor. Get them out of here as quickly as possible.
Sullivan versus Sims. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Sullivan, I assume this is your daughter, is that right? And this is your son-in-law?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, your daughter and son-in-law purchased a car that was for your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in
March
of last year.
Correct.
And the agreement was that you would make a monthly payment that would cover the car payment and insurance.
Correct.
To your daughter and son-in-law.
Correct.
and you would have the car, and when the car was paid off, I assume it would be yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did have the car for a period of time. Then you had an accident with the car in
Correct.
a parking lot, and you called your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to you, you put a note on the car.
Yes.
Did you put the note on the other car, or did your son-in-law?
I put it on the car that I hit, right
Yes.
next to me.
On the note was?
My name, phone number, and that I worked next door at Randall's, and the phone number.
You believe he took the note off the car you
They-
hit?
yes.
Because they never contacted
Correct.
you. And there was damage to that car.
Yes.
You didn't do that, did you, Mr. Sims?
No, ma'am.
And shortly thereafter, Mr. Sims repossessed the car and sold it. You are suing, according to your complaint, for the whole value of the car.
Correct.
Which you're not entitled to. So let's be realistic. Let's say you're suing for the payments that you made on the car. April, May, June, July, and August, if you made the 5 months worth of payments.
Mm-hmm. And I did not miss a payment.
Okay.
I was
And
told...
that's your statement. I did not miss a payment. And that was our agreement, and he had no right to take the car back,
Right.
and therefore I want the payments. How much were your payments each month?
Well, he told me $200 when we signed the original agreement. $200 a month, that included insurance.
How much was the insurance on the car, Mr. Sims?
$62.96.
Mr. Sims, how much did you pay for the car?
I purchased the car for $1,500. I put $600 of the repairs to the car because I purchased it damaged.
Okay, and you sold it when?
About 2 weeks ago.
And how much did you sell it for?
$3,200.
And how much did you pay to fix it as a result of the accident that your mother-in-law had?
What she did, she bent the door around to the fender.
Just tell me how much you paid to fix it.
$150, but it didn't fix it correctly. It just made the door open and close. It did not repair the car back to the original condition.
Say nothing. Yet. Say nothing yet.
All right.
So let's say you spent $2,200 on the car.
Correct.
You sold it for $3,200, giving you $1,000 profit, and your mother-in-law gave you $137 a month times 5 equals $685.35. So you got that too.
Correct.
So this is going to take care of your counterclaim, because you're suing her for $660 for miscellaneous damages incurred in relation to the car. That's your counterclaim. That's out, because you had no loss, sir. You have a profit.
All right, I understand.
You have a profit. So you suffered no damage. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Now let's talk about what your mother-in-law wants.
Okay, I need to speak.
Now I'm ready.
He works at a body shop. He didn't pay nothing to have that car fixed.
I don't care whether he did or
Okay?
whether he didn't.
And he
I don't-
raised
that
the
has nothing-
payments.
that has nothing to do with you.
He raised my payments from
To what?
$200 to $230 a month.
When did he
Before
change
I made the first payment, I'm sorry.
Just a second.
April.
Okay,
April
230.
11th. He raised it.
Is that right, sir?
Well,
Is that right or wrong? She has proof. I'm sure she has checks or
here.
whatever. Is that
yeah,
correct?
we agreed on the raise of the payment. It was due to the insurance increase.
So we have 230 less 62.96, 167.04 times 5, $835.20. I'm going to give you 1 minute, Mr. Sims, to explain to me why you don't think that you owe your mother-in-law $835.20.
We had an agreement that she was going to purchase the car, like you said. But also in that agreement, no one was supposed to drive the car. Well, she was letting the other brother-in-law drive the car, which I had a witness see him in the car. Also, she took the car to Chicago against my wishes, taking it out of town. Our original agreement was that the car was mine. I purchased the car, put it in my name, I put the insurance in my name, I registered it in my name, and I told her, here's the car, this is what we're going to do. You pay the car to me each month, and then when 13 months are over, I'll sign it over to you, do whatever you like. But in the time that you're driving the vehicle, the liability is on me with my insurance and everything covering me. I don't want anyone driving it. Drive it, do your errands, run back and forth to work. But I don't want the car leaving the state. I don't want the car going anywhere. Just keep it
Okay,
here in
now,
town.
Mrs. Sims, I read that. I read your defense, sir. However, your problem is you didn't take it back from her then.
Okay, you're right.
You took it back from her when she had an accident in the parking lot.
I didn't take it back from her. What she did, she was letting people drive the car. Then when she damaged the car, then when she damaged the vehicle, she brought the car to me and handed me the keys and wanted me to fix the vehicle. The daughter-in-law got upset with me and mad because I wouldn't file an insurance claim against my own policy to make me pay the increase over the next 3 years. And so they started feuding all over again. That's when I talked with her and I asked her, hey, we need to do something different here. Can you go get a loan for the balance due on the car? I can sign the car to you and we can quit all this fighting and carrying on and be done with it. You can do what you like. She agreed to go get her own loan.
Stop playing with the papers.
Sorry.
She went out, tried 2 or 3 different banks. No one would loan her the money because of her past history and her credit. It's so horrible she couldn't get it. So then she comes to me and says, you know what, I'm going to save the money for 6 weeks. Can you hold the car 6 weeks and I'll pay you in full? 4 weeks go by. She calls my wife and says, I got $20 to my name. I can't pay it. I said, okay, what are we going to do now? She said, well, I'm just going to take you to court and sue you for my interest. I said, well, how about I give you all your money back? I offered to give her every penny she paid, including the insurance. She agreed to that too. Then on Sunday morning, she calls and tells me, no, she don't want to do that either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do.
And later today,
the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Sullivan says son-in-law Chip Sims repossessed her car for absolutely no reason. Chip says Phyllis has been irresponsible with the vehicle.
What you should have done, Miss Sullivan, is take him up on his offer. Because if he was willing to give you all the money that you paid in the car, including the insurance, you should have accepted it. Because from me, you're only going to get the money that you paid on the car itself, less the insurance.
Your Honor.
Yeah, what?
The car, I mean, this was a business contract. I couldn't get a loan because I filed bankruptcy.
Show me the business contract.
All right?
Show me the contract. Show me what it says. Show me
Can
the
I say
contract.
something? Shh. Nobody drove that car. His so-called character witness has a warrant for his arrest for hitting a police officer.
Would you please stop talking and hand me the contract?
I'm sorry.
You don't have one.
There's the contract. This is my thing from bankruptcy. And
no, listen to me. I asked you for the contract.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a conversation with your mother about somebody else driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me when.
Less than a month into the deal with the car.
Tell me
about
what
2
the
weeks
conversation
into it.
was.
I called her to let her know that we had spoken to a fellow family member who saw someone else driving the car. When I asked her about it, she proceeded to cry and say, I would never do something like that. You told me you didn't want anyone driving the car. I wouldn't do that. I would never hurt you or Chip like that. That's our agreement. I wouldn't let someone drive the car.
Okay. I have to make a determination as to what your damages are, Miss Sullivan.
Okay.
And by the way, Mr. Sims, I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do. Otherwise, I cannot understand why somebody would not have contacted you to have their car fixed. It's not reasonable that if you come out and you see somebody left their name and number and said, I hit your car,
right,
that they would not contact that person unless the note was taken off the car. In any event, I believe that you're entitled to, based upon this agreement, you're entitled to your money back, because this agreement says that if at any time I default upon my payments, Ronald has the right to take the car back, and I will forfeit any payments already made. She never defaulted on her payments, so you had no right to take her car back.
I didn't take the car back. She brought the car to me.
I don't believe that's true. And I believe that you made a profit.
came
Just
to me.
shit, quiet. I believe that you made a profit on the car. You don't have to make a really handsome profit. So instead of making $1,838, you're only going to make $1,000 worth of profit.
$1,800 because she'd already filed this suit once, which I had to hire an attorney to fight her the first time, that she never showed up to court. I had
Well,
to
I don't
fight
have
her.
that. Listen to me,
have the
Mr.
dismissal.
Sims. Mr. Sims.
I've got the original court
I
date
don't
and a
have
dismissal
listen to-
from it.
Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have that as part of a counterclaim.
Right.
In any event, what I'm telling you is, you have the right, if you sold the car, you made a profit. Your profit was in excess of $1,000.
Well,
Because-
I kept the car for 5 months waiting to solve this case, waiting to go to court, which we had our court date. She didn't appear.
What difference does it make, sir? What difference does it make as far as the profit that you made?
Right, exactly.
She put in $835.20. That's less the insurance over a 5-month period, and she's entitled to get it back under your contract. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want them out of my life. I just want to go on about my own life and let her live her life, let me live mine.
He couldn't claim it on his insurance because he's got too many other insurance claims going on.
This isn't the first time in my life my mother's disappointed me.
My son-in-law, Chip, told me that I'm putting the stake in the family.
We warned her before she filed this suit to let her know she would never see me and she would never see her grandson again. She continued to do it, and I'm going to stand by my word.
I'm very hurt. I'm going to miss my daughter and my grandson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Block versus Ulrich. Step forward, please.
Loan officer Chris Block and his wife Deanna are suing their neighbor, cleaning company vice president Steve Ulrich for vet bills. The Blocks claim the son of Steve's girlfriend, 12-year-old Dustin Miller, threw their kitten down a flight of stairs.
Mr. and Mrs. Block, who's going to speak for you?
I will.
Okay. Neither one of you were home at the time of this incident with the kitten?
No.
Okay. Who was home?
Both kids, I believe, right? No, my son.
Very good. So why don't you have a seat, the two of you? Step up. Mr. Ulrich, this is not your son. You are his guardian, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You weren't there on the 3rd of October, is that right?
Yes.
You were not there.
I was not there.
Why don't you have a seat? Step up here, young man. What's your first name?
Devin.
Devin?
Yeah.
And yours?
Dustin.
All right, this is the complaint. On behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Block, they had a kitten, and they claim that Dustin purposely injured their kitten, causing the kitten's leg to break, and the kitten had to have leg reset. There were substantial medical bills, and they want the defendant to be responsible for those medical bills, you or his mother. The defendant says that Dustin was merely defending himself from this kitten. So let's see what happened. Devin?
Yes.
I want you to tell me what happened on October 3rd with your kitten. How old, first of all, tell me how old the kitten is.
When it happened?
Yes.
About 4 months.
And Dustin was a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Did he play over at your house often?
Yes.
Okay. Did Dustin like the kitten?
Yeah.
So tell me what happened that day.
Well, we were playing video games, and he said he's going to go to the bathroom. And then he comes back, and he says that I didn't really go to the bathroom. I went to go put the kitten. Well, later that night, she was limping and crying, and you'd touch her leg, she would cry. And we asked him when he went to go play with the cat if he did something, but he said that she was biting him and that he just got angry and annoyed and he tossed her off the stairs.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Tell me what happened, Dustin.
I was playing with the kitten when it bit me, and then
Well, tell me exactly where you were when you were playing with the kitten and it bit you.
I was on the stairs.
What do you mean on the stairs?
Like, the kitten was on the stairs, so I was, like, sitting and petting it.
And the kitten bit you?
Yes.
So what happened after the kitten bit you?
Like, I pulled my hand back to get it off, and it fell off the stairs.
How did it fall off the stairs?
The stairs is not that wide, so when I was sitting down, I was kind of near the edge of where the stairwell would be.
Isn't there a railing?
No.
Is there a railing?
No, Your Honor. We removed it after we moved in. I have some pictures.
I'd like to see it.
And there's some pictures of after a pin was removed.
Oh, I see. So there is no railing. Who else was there when he confessed?
My mom and my sister.
Well, I'd like to hear from you. Yes. Tell me about the discussion that you had with Dustin that evening.
Well, at first when we'd asked, because I saw the cat was limping and nobody would say anything, so I kept asking the kids over and over again what had happened. Dustin was kind of nervous, and Devin told me that he had left the room, and then it told me about him playing with the cat. So I said, Dustin, what happened? Just tell us what happened. And then he said that when he was playing with her that she started to bite him. So at first he said he went like this and just threw her down the stairs. Then I said, well, there had to have been more than that. So I kept asking him, and then he said, well, he went like this over the edge. And he said, so then he threw her that way.
So he didn't say he picked her up and threw her over the side.
No, but...
Okay. I just want to know what he said.
Okay.
You're 12?
Yeah.
And you're 12?
Yeah.
Well, they're certainly old enough to be home alone by themselves. So I can't fault you for not being there to supervise, but I also am not going to make an order that his parents be responsible for the medical bills for your cat. I mean, I don't think that he purposely did anything to hurt your cat. The cat nips because it's a kitten. But again, he's 12 years old. He doesn't have the intellect, you know, of somebody who's an adult. And he wanted to get the cat off. So let's say he took his hand and went like that, and the cat went over on the side as a reflex. There's nothing more than a reflex to get the cat off. You still think that he's responsible to pay for the vet bills for the cat?
Only because the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
Did you ever have any indication that this young man would do anything to hurt an animal?
Well, the fact that he knew she was hurt and went back to play video games like nothing had happened.
Well, that's not a good thing, right? Tell me why you did that.
Well, first of all, I didn't know the cat was hurt.
Just a second. After the cat goes over, whether you went like this to get the cat off you because the cat was biting you, or whether you pushed the cat down the stairs to get the cat off of you, you had to have sat there for a second and watched what happened when the cat got up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you see the cat limping?
No.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that, Dustin. When you came back inside, did you tell Devin what had happened with the cat?
No.
Why not?
Because I didn't really know. I didn't really think it was like a huge deal because when the cat fell, it wasn't moving afterwards when I went up, back upstairs.
It wasn't moving?
No, but...
Well, weren't you worried if it wasn't moving? Dustin?
It was standing.
Do you have an animal at home? You have a dog or a cat?
Bird.
What if your bird was bothering somebody by chirping and the person had a headache and it went over and it rattled the cage really hard and the bird fell to the ground and broke a leg? Would you be angry?
Yes.
Would you think that the person ought to tell you that that's what happened?
Yes.
Do you think that you would have any responsibility? Or that they would have any responsibility?
Like, they would have some responsibility, but we would also have some because it was our bird that would got on the person's nerves.
The birds do what birds do. Yes. Birds sing. Kittens nip. And if you don't like it when the kitten is nipping you, then you don't play with the kitten. But Mrs. Block, I don't think that he did this on purpose. And I don't think that his parents had any indication that he had a predisposition to cruelty to animals, which in my judgment would make them responsible. If you have children in your house and you choose to leave 12-year-olds in your house unsupervised...
Versus Kirk. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Nichols, it is your claim that the defendant, who was your roommate for about 10 months, owes you for 10 months' rent and utility bills. Ms. Kirk says that she had a unique arrangement with you, which was that just her being there was enough and she owes you nothing. Is that right?
No.
I assume you signed the lease?
Not in the presence of anyone that should have been there at the time, Your Honor.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
How did you know each other when you signed the lease?
We were friends.
Just friends?
Yes.
All right. How did you first discuss with the defendant moving in together?
Well, she came to me and was, looking for a place, and she wanted to be closer to work, and we went looking out for an apartment together.
Okay, and you found an apartment?
Yes.
Did you both sign the lease on the apartment?
Yes, ma'am, and I have documentation of that.
Can I see it, please? Now, I see in this lease agreement that you've signed it, sir.
Yes.
And that the defendant signed it, but then in parentheses is written month to month only. That means that you were a month-to-month tenant only?
We came into a year's lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the way the lease was set up, it was basically set up for month to month, but written for a year.
No. What this looks like is that you've signed the lease. She signed, but under her name is month to month only.
Okay, it was agreed that it was a year lease, but written month to month.
Clearly, you signed the lease, right?
In the apartment with no one there. I did not one time go to the rental office.
You don't have to see anybody to sign a lease.
Okay, yes, Your Honor.
So you signed it?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. I did, on my own time.
I don't care if you
It was signed.
signed it upside down on Mars.
Yes.
You signed the lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what was the arrangement, according to you, with regard to payment of the rent?
The rent was supposed to be, as well as a security deposit, split 50-50 straight down the middle.
Did Miss Kirk give you the security deposit?
No, Your Honor, she did not.
And you moved in anyway?
Yes.
And according to you, for the entire time she lived there, she paid no rent?
Correct.
So what'd you let her stay there for?
She did a few things around the apartment for me.
Like what?
Cooking, cleaning, and just being a friend.
So you were satisfied with that arrangement?
It was understood that she would eventually be paying me, but...
Well, how was that understanding reached, Mr. Nichols?
Your Honor, we had a verbal as well as a written agreement.
No, there's a written agreement. That's with the landlord, but you were paying the rent, right?
I got stuck with the rent, yes.
Right. Well, why didn't you tell her to leave after a few months if she wasn't paying the rent?
Well, I knew it would be hard to find another roommate for one.
Well, you didn't try, and it couldn't have been any worse. Mr. Nichols? Could not have been worse. You had somebody living with you who wasn't paying rent. Couldn't be any worse living alone.
Well, that may be true.
So what happened, sir, in October?
In October, we had a falling out, and she left.
Tell me about the falling out, because maybe then I understand why this lawsuit.
Well, it was just a disagreement, and there was some alcohol that was involved, and I don't remember 100% what it was all about, but we did have a disagreement, and she left.
When you say you don't remember, is that because you were consuming the alcohol?
We both were.
Both of you?
Yes.
Now, it was after she left that you decided to sue her for the rent?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Ms. Kirk, now I'll hear you.
I met Mr. Nichols.
Just make sure whatever you tell me is true.
Yes.
You got it? I don't want to hear I didn't sign the lease in the presence of 4 eyewitnesses. I want to hear only the truth. Yes. Good.
I met Mr. Nichols at a time I was very vulnerable because I was still in the process of drinking voluntarily. Mr. Nichols offered me a place to stay without signing any agreement financial-wise. He never wanted any money. I tried to offer him money, and February 5th of 2001, I did give him a money order for $300.
So you gave him a money order for...
I have proof.
$300. Now, what was that for?
I felt bad. I felt guilty because he never wanted any money. I tried to give him money. And so, in a way, maybe to make me feel better, that's what he wanted was money. So I wanted to show him that, yes, I could pay my own way.
Just a minute. When you said you gave him $300 because you said he wanted money.
I felt he wanted money, but he never...
What made you think that he wanted money?
He had said something to the fact that he was not getting enough hours at his work, and I was trying to help and give him this money order on my own.
Fine. Any other money exchanged after February?
No, Your Honor.
Did Mr. Nichols ever bring up the issue of rent to you
No,
after
Your
February?
Honor. No, Your Honor.
Okay, so what happened in October that caused you to leave?
October 20th, I believe it was a Saturday evening. We were both drinking. I drink a beer. Yes, it is alcohol. But up until that time, Mr. Nichols had been consuming hard liquor, is what I call Jack Daniel's Wild Turkey. I was sitting at the dining room table, happened to get up to proceed to the kitchen area. Mr. Nichols was standing right here and grabbed me by both of my arms, tried to pull me forward. This is only one occasion, but this is the main occasion incident that should be brought out. He has before, in the past, tried to grab me and make me kiss him, make me give him a hug, make me tell him that I would love him or I love him, that I would stay with him. And it was made clear from the beginning that it was only a platonic relationship.
Okay. Now, on the 20th of October, he made an advance towards you.
Physically, yes.
And you left.
He made physically advances towards me, tried to push me down on the floor. Mentally, I believed where I knew that was going to go to. I got up, grabbed the phone, called 911. The phone did go through. Evidently, whoever was on the other end heard what was going on. I got up, still had the phone. Mr. Nichols grabbed the phone, evidently pushed off. I ran into my room, locked the door. The next thing I knew, the police were at the door knocking. I ran, went out of my room, ran to open the door. There's police, and explained to both of them.
Were you taken into custody at that time?
No.
You were not?
No.
Okay. Were you taken into custody subsequent to the 20th of October?
No.
No. Okay. But you left shortly thereafter?
2 days, 2 mornings after.
Judge Judy will continue. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Nichols says ex-roommate Joyce Kirk owes for 10 months of rent. Joyce says after Daryl got drunk and made a physical advance, she moved out.
Mr. Nichols, the issue is very clear in this case, and it's a single issue. Whether or not I believe that in a strictly business relationship, because you were not boyfriend and girlfriend, you were living together as roommates, you would permit your, in effect, business partner to take advantage of you for a period of 10 months without paying any money on a promise that she would somehow pay in the future, and this despite the fact that Ms. Kirk was fully employed during the 10 months that you lived together.
Your Honor, may I interrupt for just a second, please?
Sure.
She would be going in and out of her job about every other month. She was not employed the whole time.
Whether she was employed for the whole time or not, the months that she was working, there would have been no reasonable excuse for her not to contribute her half of the rent, nor for you to permit her not to contribute her half of the rent. Now, there might be some credibility to your story, Mr. Nichols, if, in fact, she was not employed during that 10-month period. And out of the goodness of your heart, you said, look, I know you're looking to get a job, something's going to come up, I will carry you for these months until you get something. But that's not the case. Her circumstances weren't going to change. Her circumstances were she was employed, she had a job, you had a roommate, and you should have collected the rent every single month. You didn't do it. So there's something to be said for Ms. Kirk's position that you really weren't looking for rent. Even, Mr. Nichols, you said to me at the beginning of this case, she was cooking, she was cleaning, she was good company, and that's why I let her stay without paying me rent. The case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's something in here about him wanting to kill me.
I have no comment.
Got to stop thinking of me and her as a couple.
I have no comment.
Now we barely tolerate each other.
I have no comment.
Otherwise may end up killing her.
I have no comment.
I feel somewhat sorry for Mr. Nichols.
I have no comment.
I was proven right that from the beginning he was looking for more than just rent or a roommate.
I have no comment.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carson versus Greenberg. Step forward, please.
Holistic therapist Annabeth Carson is suing her ex-boyfriend, mortgage broker David Greenberg, for the over-mileage fee on a car lease. David says the charges are due to Annabeth's negligence.
Ms. Carson, the facts in this case are not very difficult, and I believe that they initially are conceded by both parties. You and Mr. Greenberg were in a relationship back in 1997, 1998. And in 1998, you leased a car for him. You leased it in your name because he had been going through a divorce or something and his credit was not good. So that the car was leased in your name, but with the understanding that Mr. Greenberg would be fully responsible for the car. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And sometime in 1998, the two of you separated. And the car remained in Mr. Greenberg's possession. Mr. Greenberg made all the monthly payments on the car, took care of the insurance on the car. You had very little, if any, contact with each other, and then you were notified sometime in 2000 or 2001 that you owed the leasing company over $5,000 for excess mileage that Mr. Greenberg had accrued on the car from the time of the initiation of the lease. You want Mr. Greenberg to pay that money, right?
Yes.
When was your first communication with the bank?
I started communicating with them in December of 2000. I was in touch with them throughout January.
Yes.
The car was supposed to be returned on January 5th.
Right.
It was not returned January 5th. And it was finally returned on the 26th of January. So during the entire month of January, I was on the phone with some of the bank officers trying to figure out how to get the car to be returned.
How did you finally figure out a way to get the car returned?
He just returned it finally on the 26th of January.
Your Honor?
Yes.
If she was in contact with the bank since December, they would have known. The bank contacted me on January 7th and asked what my intent was, and I said that it was my understanding could either continue leasing it and or purchase the vehicle. At that time, they said that they could only sell the vehicle to the person who was originally on the lease. I told them I had no way of contacting Annabeth. They said that they did. They would contact her and to get that permission. So I would never have had to return the vehicle on the 26th. I could have gone through with my plans of purchasing the vehicle.
Let me see your bill.
And I also never received any calls from the bank at any time.
Why should she be responsible for your bill, sir?
No.
Why should she be responsible for your bill? She didn't drive the car.
It wasn't my bill.
It was your bill.
How could it have been my bill? If I purchased the vehicle, there would not have been a bill.
It was your bill. It wasn't her bill. She didn't drive the excess miles.
If the vehicle had been purchased...
Listen to me carefully. It was your bill. She did not use the excess miles, sir.
Your Honor, she knew the type of job I had and that I drove excessive miles, and it was always the intent, my intent and our agreement for me to purchase the vehicle.
Then you should have made those arrangements, sir. You should have started, you should have gotten an investigator. Listen to me carefully. You use the internet?
Somewhat.
If you use the internet, and if you can't get in touch with her, you put her name up on the internet, they'll tell you in what state she's located. You find her and write her a letter. And you say, please, I don't want you to be stuck with excess miles. I want to purchase this car. okay? And this is the only way I have to get in touch with you. If I'm not permitted to purchase the car, then somebody is going to have to pay excess miles. It's not going to be me, because that was not our agreement. I want to buy the car. Now, do you think that she wouldn't have let you buy the car, sir, if it meant that she wasn't going to be hit with a bill for all this money?
I had instructions from Annabeth not to contact her.
Mr. Greenberg, you're a faker, sir.
This,
You're a faker, sir.
absolutely not.
You're a faker, sir. I'm not telling you not to contact her, not to go see her, not to send her flowers, not to send her candy, but to send her a registered letter saying, listen, if I can't purchase this car, it's possible that somebody is going to be responsible, and it probably will be you for the excess miles. So please, let's make arrangements. If I can't purchase this car, and so far I'm not sure that that's not true, if I can't purchase this car, why don't we make arrangements? You purchase the car, I will send you a certified check for the amount of the car, case closed. Then the car will be mine. That's an easy. You don't have to be a genius, and you're not a stupid man. Shifty, but not stupid. Did you settle with the bank?
No, I have not settled with the bank. He
Your
wanted,
Honor?
he wanted me to settle with the bank, and I wasn't willing to settle with the bank until it was clear to me that he was going to take responsibility for paying for it.
This is from, looks like a collection agency. It says, our client will accept 75% of the total balance due to settle this obligation.
I only gave you that form because that shows what I owe. That's just the one that I had.
I'm asking you what they're prepared to accept to settle this bill.
Well, apparently, according to that, they're prepared to accept that. At this point, they might be prepared to accept something different. I don't know. I haven't discussed that with them.
Well, let's go and find out.
And Your Honor?
What?
Wouldn't it have just been as easy for Annabeth, having known when the lease was up, to have made that call to the bank on January 5th?
She didn't use the car. You did. It was your responsibility.
She was on the lease.
Your responsibility. She was on the lease as a favor to you.
She was on the lease.
She was on the lease as a favor to you. If she wanted to, sir, she could have bought out of this lease a year after she had the lease, may have taken a loss when you separated, and said, I'm not leaving you with this car that's in my name. She could have done that too.
I offered to give it to her also at that time. But if I signed a lease for someone and I knew it was up, I would make the final arrangements.
Would you?
Because I would have been
Because you're really
responsible for the
how old
vehicle.
are you?
49.
Sir, you were 49, so you were 44 or 45 when somebody else had to assume the responsibility for leasing a car for you because you were so irresponsible in your personal or financial life that you had no credit to buy or lease a car. So don't suggest to me that you are so responsible that you would have taken over the obligation of doing what you were supposed to do, because at age 45 you weren't able to do that when you needed a car to get to work. Now, let's find out from the bank what they're prepared to settle for. This is Judge Judy Scheindler, and I'm calling you from Los Angeles. I'm in the process of trying a case involving the people that are involved in this lease. I have a letter here that you sent dated the 5th of October of '01 to Miss Carson, who had leased the car for Mr. Greenberg. So what I want to know is, at this point, what is the bank prepared to settle for to close out this account? $41,25.79. Now, my next question to you is, if this matter is settled, okay, for $41,25.75, and you receive a check for that, is there any negative impact on her credit? Okay, so you get a paid letter. Very good. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, you too. All right. I've had an opportunity to speak to this FMA Alliance Limited, who were really merely a collection agency. The gentleman was very cooperative. The amount due as of today is not $55,3807. They're prepared to resolve this matter for $41,25.75 with a check made payable directly to them from, of course, the defendant. So judgment for the plaintiff in that amount, $4,125.75, with a check being made payable directly to the company. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. Jefferson versus Montgomery. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Jefferson, you and the defendant, according to your complaint, have had a long-term relationship and you have a child.
Yes.
Together. It is your claim that a couple of years ago you had ordered a credit card in your name and the defendant's name.
Mm-hmm.
You claim that she took that credit card without your permission.
Mm-hmm.
And when you separated, you got a bill.
I got a card. I got the change of address card.
Well, you made a phone call and you found out that there were $6,000 worth of charges placed on that credit card. And you want her to pay those charges.
Correct.
The defendant says that you gave her the credit card, that you had an off-again, on-again relationship, and when you were on again, you paid the bill, and aside from that, you hadn't paid child support when you were separated. She has a counterclaim for some stuff that she's going to tell me about. So that's what this case is about.
Okay.
When did you start to live together?
In New York, we did it 3 times.
Okay, when was the first time? Year. Just give me the year.
I would say maybe the end of 96 or beginning of 97.
And when did you order this credit card?
This was February 99.
And what did you do with the credit cards when you got them?
I have a big bin that I keep all my bills in, and I made another folder and I put it in the bin.
You never personally handed it to her?
No, I didn't even activate it.
When, for the first time, did you ascertain that she had used the credit card?
She moved out on September 21st, 1999, and went back to Wisconsin.
And you were living where at the time?
Still in New York City. She went back to Wisconsin, and a couple of weeks later, I got a postcard from the credit card company saying that I changed my address to a Wisconsin P.O. box, something in Wisconsin. So I called the credit card company. I said, I didn't change the address. They said, yes, you did. And you have a balance of so-and-so. I said, no, I don't. She's like, yes, you did. And she started listing the charges on there, beginning from New York. One was a balance transfer of $1,600, and the rest and some more were from her trip from New York. She drove from New York to Wisconsin.
Now, is this an amicable breakup?
Yeah, I didn't want her to leave, and I asked her not to leave, and I went to work, and she decided still to leave.
So she left without you knowing that she was leaving on
No,
that
I knew
day.
I knew there was a possibility that she was leaving. We went to dinner the night before, and I asked her not to leave, and it was up in the air. I went to work, came back, and she had followed through and left.
Okay. Now, do you have a copy of that bill?
I have a copy of the first bill
Yeah, I'd like
with
to see
the
it.
address on it.
While he's looking for that, Miss Montgomery, were you working at the time you were living together?
No, I had only been, at that time, I was only in New York for a couple months, and I was taking care of our daughter.
So you weren't working?
Right.
She was working part-time as a nanny or whatever, full-time, part-time, whatever, taking care of someone's child.
In the house?
No, at their house.
With your daughter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you were working part-time?
Yeah, it was like once a week for a couple hours, once in a while.
Now, what is this balance transfer of $1,600? That was made in August.
It was from one of my credit cards that I had used on our daughter. He wasn't paying child support at the time.
I'm talking about August.
Right.
You left in September.
Right.
You were living together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I had the card for a while.
But
and
this
I
was
did not steal it from him.
We're talking about a balance transfer from another card that you
Right.
had
Yep.
over to this card.
Right.
Was the other card that you had in your name?
Yes.
Well, had you discussed transferring the balance of $1,600 to this
No.
card? Well, why did you do that?
Because I had used that to fly out there and to support my daughter, and I needed to support my daughter again, so that's what I had done. I closed out that other credit card. And
That was your credit card?
Right.
Well, did you intend to make payments on this credit card?
Yes, and I was.
Even though it was in his name?
The card was in my name. He
In
got
your
the
name,
card
but
from
he
me.
was primarily responsible for
Right.
it. Now, you tell me your version of how you came into possession of this credit card.
This is the second card he had gotten me, and the card was laying next to his computer with my name on it, and I took it in use of our daughter, and he was not paying child support at the time.
Don't tell me he wasn't paying child support at the time. That
Okay.
I'm not interested in.
And I just took the card and used
I'm
it.
interested in it, but not interested in it right now. Did you tell him, pay careful attention, that you had taken it at the time?
No.
When, for the first time, did you tell him that you had taken this credit card?
No.
I said when for the first time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You never did? You didn't tell him that you had taken it?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. Now, you were making regular payments on this credit card?
Yes.
Until when?
Probably until about June.
June of 2000?
And then he started making the payments correct.
Okay, so you were making the payments on the card because you knew it was your responsibility. You stopped in June. Tell me why.
For a lot of different reasons. I was, he wasn't supportive of me and my daughter. He was verbally and emotionally abusive to us. And I kind of decided if I'm not going to get married and you're the one who got this card, there's no point in me paying it. He had written a notary public letter to the child support worker in Wisconsin so that he wouldn't have to pay child support anymore. He had stated to them that he didn't want to, since he was paying rent, he didn't really have to pay anything else for Jasmine.
You were living together?
Mm-hmm.
Not interested in that. How were you supporting yourself then?
I had gotten a job.
Fine. You had gotten a job. You were living together as a couple with your child. So why should he be paying child support?
He was ordered by the state to pay it anyways because he owed arrears and back child support.
Let me explain. One thing has nothing to do with another.
Right.
Now, what were the total charges on the account?
I think towards the end it ended up being like $5,000. I mean, maybe a little under, but then interest was attached.
The largest balance I have is $6,149.88.
Okay. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Tell me what that's about.
Domestic violence case that we had gone through. The last one was in April of last year on the 22nd. And he had hit me in front of our daughter. And I had lost my job over it. And that's part of the reason.
How did you lose your job?
I came to work with bruises, and they told me that they didn't want me looking unhappy anymore. And because I was a receptionist at the time, they told me that when the customers come in, I'm the first person that they look at, and I wasn't looking good anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sean Jefferson says his ex-fiancée, Susan Montgomery, made charges on his credit card without his permission. Susan says Sean is angry because she had him arrested for domestic violence.
Tell me about this assault. Did you file a police report?
Yes, I did.
Do you have it?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what happened on the 28th of April, or the 20...
The 22nd is the actual incident. He had talked about killing himself that day, and he had just dropped off my daughter, and I was worried about him. We had been through a lot with each other, so I was concerned. I'd called him several times. He wasn't answering the phone, so I came over to his house. He opened the door. My daughter went in, of course, and he had said that I couldn't be there right now, that it was a bad time, and I just said, I want to talk to you. I want to make sure that you're okay. And before you know it, one thing led to another. He started pushing me out of the house, shoving me up against the wall. My daughter was standing at the door, screaming and yelling, "Stop hurting my mommy." And when I went back in to call 911, he took the phone away from me.
Why didn't you just leave?
Because my daughter was screaming bloody murder, and he was like standing at the door, and I was frightened of him.
Well, but he wanted you to leave.
Oh, I guess as far as me not leaving the first time, I was concerned. I didn't understand what was going on. I had been with this person for 7 years, so there was a lot entailed, you know.
Do you have photographs? They said in the
Yes.
report that they took photographs. I'd like to see them.
Most of them are from the police department. I've been part of a domestic violence group ever since then, and my daughter's been going to counseling over it.
I see some very faint black and blue marks.
That was a week after it happened.
Oh, well, that's what I see on,
Yeah.
on these things. Are there any marks on your face?
No.
No. I didn't see any.
No.
There are a couple of small black and blue marks on your arms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how that would cause you to lose your job.
I was wearing, in fact, I wore this dress one of the weeks that I was wearing it, and you could see the bruises on my arms. I was crying at work all the time. I wasn't myself.
From what you described to me, there was something visible that people could see as a result of which you lost your job as a receptionist.
Well, there were several different reasons where she had said, you know, with the police calling there, with me not being happy anymore.
Well, you know, you don't get paid for not being happy, and I never condone somebody putting their hands on somebody else. But, you know, you have to be a smart lady. You've been together with him for 7 years. Has he put his hands on you before?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever put your hands on him?
No.
Never.
I mean, we've wrestled with each other as far as, like, fighting over something, but...
Fighting over something, not fun fighting.
Right.
Not fun fighting. So you have put your hands on each other?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And despite the fact that this has been a tumultuous relationship, you keep getting back together again, right?
Were we getting back together?
No. Despite the fact that it had been a tumultuous relationship, you kept getting back together. Okay, I'm just dealing with each part of your counterclaim. One of the part of your counterclaim is you lost your job because of this assault.
Right.
And I've examined the pictures, and I don't see that that supports that part of your counterclaim.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you also have a counterclaim for daycare expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hear about that.
We had agreed to pay every other week since we moved here, and he had stopped paying. After this whole incident, he had stopped paying. He did give me $200 to go towards it, but the bill was like $800. I paid what I could. Since I had lost my job, I didn't have any income, and then I put the $200 towards it, and the balance is $426.
Was that before or after a child support order was entered against him?
It was during.
It was during?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a copy of that child support order? Does anybody have a copy of it?
I have the bill they send me every month. I have the bill they send me every month.
Well, what are you supposed to pay in child support, sir?
$730.
Was that after a hearing?
When the order was done, I lived in New York, so I never got to say anything. I just got the
Do you pay
bill
the
and I pay it.
$730
Yeah, it comes out
a
of my
month?
check. Yes, it does.
It's garnished, so your
Yep.
wages are attached.
Yep.
Since when?
Since it started, I think June 1st.
June 1st
is when they started taking out. It's $860 plus $50 arrears. I'm sorry, $680. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay. That started to come out of your pay in June.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
My May 30th check, yes.
Now, when did you make this arrangement to pay half of the
We have
child
been
care?
doing it the whole time. I have the checks where I did pay.
The child care.
Yep.
Do you still pay that?
No. She took her out of school like May 1st. Or something like that. And the $200 was because she was behind in paying. But while my daughter went to that school, every other week I gave the check.
Let me see.
Well, they had called me and said that Scene hadn't paid the last time, and that if I wasn't going to have it paid for, I had to take her out of there.
I think it goes from back to the most recent.
This is
back.
KinderCare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these payments were pretty regular. Twice a month? Is that what you were saying?
Every other week.
Well, we had to pay
However-
every week.
however
He
it
paid
goes,
every
and
other week. I
Some of
paid
them
the rest.
are me covering for her when she didn't have the money.
What's the other part of your counterclaim, Ms. Montgomery?
The co-payments for my daughter's therapy. Me and my daughter are going to counseling this summer.
This past summer?
Mm-hmm.
After June?
After the incident in April.
Okay. When was the child support hearing?
We didn't have a hearing. They just started taking it from his check.
I don't see a copy of the child support order. Neither one of you have a copy of the child support order, but usually when there's...
This is the original from
I'd like to see it.
1997.
I'd like to see it. Well, things have changed since 1997.
Yeah,
Did
because
they
he was
know you
supposed to
moved
pay the
back
whole time,
and forth?
and he had moved and stuff.
Well, you were back together part of that time.
Right.
I mean, that's
That's
hard.
when I stopped doing it.
That's hard for them to keep track of these things, you know, when you on again, off again. Meanwhile, he's got this child support order that's building up. Who maintains health insurance for the child?
I do.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
$240 a month.
I pay the co-payments and any other separate bills that she has.
Do you have medical coverage now for the child?
No.
All right, well, this order says both parties shall maintain the child as a covered dependent. So you don't do that?
No, because we were living with each other at the time.
Right. But he does?
Right.
Right.
How much is deducted from your check for the child's policy?
Well, for me, it would be like $60. And with a family, it's $240.
And the family is just the child?
It's just her, yeah.
$240 a month?
A month, yes.
I think he's doing all right, Miss Montgomery. I think he's paying a reasonable amount of money. How much do you earn every year, sir?
$50,000.
Okay.
That's from his first job. He does have a second job, too.
Now,
Well, how many children do you have?
one, that's it.
How many jobs do you have?
I have one, and I was going to school full-time.
Okay, well, he has 2 jobs. When I have more money, he'd get 2 jobs. That's what you do.
Well, he was doing it because he said that he had to pay too much in child support, and I was robbing him. But I think that Jasmine's his responsibility, so...
No, Jasmine is both of your
Oh,
responsibility.
yeah, and she lives with me.
That doesn't make any difference.
I take care of her all the time, and I never complain about it.
Jasmine is the financial responsibility of both people. He pays $730 a month child support. He pays an additional $180 a month in order to maintain health insurance coverage, medical, dental, vision, pursuant to this order, right?
Yes.
Good. Take care of the rest. If you need 2 jobs, get 2 jobs. Listen, this is a very gender-neutral time we're living in. That means that no mother or father has the primary financial support of a child. Both people do. You and him. So if there is a copay, which is not discussed here, pay it.
I do.
Because good. Well, you can't counterclaim for that if you're paying it. That's part of your counterclaim. You said you're suing for the copay.
That's because the psychology appointments were not covered under his health insurance. I took her to a separate place.
Good, then you should. You chose a separate place? You chose
Right.
another place? Pay for it.
I did.
Good. And why are you bothering me with it? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Can I?
What?
About her losing her jobs. The reason why the reason why I had a problem with our relationship, us being together, is because she couldn't keep a job. I moved there in March, and she decided to move out in, I'll say, the end of December because we weren't getting married. I'm not getting married because of the simple fact that I can't talk to her about anything financially, where she has to take responsibility. She can't hold down a job. She's had between that March and December, she had 3 different jobs. 1, she left because she was in danger of having to reapply for a job. 2, she got fired from. This was before anything went on. So from that time, from December until I think she got a new job in maybe February, and every time in between jobs, it's a month off, and I'm holding everything down financially, and it's no big deal to her.
Now, how much do you owe her in child support?
In child support, $2,000 from before, most of it's interest from before. And I owe $8,000 for the birth of my daughter, and I owe welfare about $3,000.
You weren't together when the child was born?
She had moved to Wisconsin, and I came out there. The pregnancy was induced, and I flew out there, and it was sort of scheduled for me to be there.
Did you pay any money when the child was born?
I used to send her about $300 a month,
That
but
was
it
a
wasn't
year
enough.
later. It was a year when
Well, who
Jasmine
was
was a year
supporting
old.
you when you were pregnant and had the baby?
I was on welfare until I was 9 months pregnant, and then I supported myself afterwards.
Okay, so
I worked 3 jobs while I was pregnant.
The government paid for the child's birth.
Oh, the birth, correct.
The birth.
No,
I was on
I'm
medical-
paying. I have to pay for it.
But at that time.
At that time, yes.
Now
yes.
you have to reimburse
yeah,
them.
Yeah.
Well, that's the law, sir. You can't,
I have no problem. I'm not complaining about that.
can't get around that.
I'm not
In any
complaining
event,
about
Miss
that.
Montgomery, these are your bills. He did not give you the credit card as you indicated. You took the credit card. You took the credit card. You took it without his permission. Then you went and transferred a balance that was on a credit card that was solely your responsibility onto this credit card.
And I have called the credit card company
No, I don't care
several
whether-
times, and it's at a zero balance, and they said I didn't owe anything on it, and he did call them and say that he was responsible for the card.
Just a second. But he's not responsible for the card. You're responsible for the card. And if he paid off your debt because there's a zero balance now, that doesn't mean anything. He paid it off because he didn't want to continue to pay interest at 19 or 20%. He figured, let me get rid of this, and then I'll go after her.
I transferred to another card because just for that reason I was getting nowhere, paying $120 a month, and I was only paying $13 toward the
Because
principal.
it was on his credit, not yours. So you have to pay him the money you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Schroeder versus Weeks. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Schroeder, the defendant is your daughter. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm having a little bit trouble hearing you.
Okay, I will speak louder. Your wife passed away recently,
Yes.
and it is your claim that your daughter took certain jewelry of your wife's that you would like back.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this claim is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter says that it was your wife's wish that she have this jewelry.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Weeks, was this the only property that your mother left?
She left some other family heirlooms and personal property, but nothing of significant value.
I assume that that's a box. Is that a box?
This is the watch that he claims, and the ring was my mother's.
I'd like to see both, please. Were your parents, Miss Weeks, estranged at the time of her death?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, in September of 1999, my mother was placed in an adult family home.
What was her illness?
Her diagnosis was multiple sclerosis at that time. And she was falling a lot. She was being left alone a lot. And Adult Protective Services were involved because of the fire department having to, she had one of those life call buttons. And the fire department was called to the house quite frequently to pick her up. And they felt that she was in a neglectful situation because she was not being properly cared for. And so Adult Protective Services started searching for alternative living arrangements for her.
And according to the complaint that I've read and your answer, there came a time around 1999 where you were given by your mother power of attorney.
That is correct.
Subsequently, in 2000, you were appointed her guardian.
That is correct.
Was her diagnosis ever modified from multiple sclerosis to something else?
Not officially, no.
All right. Now, what I found interesting about your answer was that in 2000 you were in fact appointed her guardian.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the court found that she was unable to take care of herself and make decisions for herself.
That is correct.
When was it that your mother told you that she wanted you to have this jewelry?
October, November of 99.
Did you take the jewelry at that time?
I did. And later, early part of 2000, she asked for me to give her back her ring because she wanted to wear it.
And she wore it until she died?
Yes, ma'am.
I do not want to get involved in, because I don't think it's necessary to estrange the two of you any further. Do you have siblings?
Yes.
How many?
I have 3 brothers and a sister.
Are you in touch with your other children, sir? Do you have any contact with your other children?
Pardon me?
Do you have any contact with your other
No, I
children?
don't.
So you have no contact with any of your children?
They have, even my youngest boy got up and left at the funeral when my wife, her services were. And my daughter, to my immediate left, didn't even take the time to go to her mother's funeral.
Ms. Weeks, very briefly, can you tell me why all of the children, from your perspective, don't have contact with their father? Your parents were married for, according to this, 47 years.
Yes. My father, from the time we were small children, was very abusive towards the 5 of us children, as well as my mother. And I have the guardian ad litem report that has statements to that effect, if you would like to see that. And he was never supportive of any of our decisions or anything that we felt we wanted to do, and was very mean, has said very mean and hateful things towards my middle brother, to the point
Okay,
where
so it's a whole history.
Yeah, it's a very, very long and sordid history.
But, Ms. Weeks, doesn't it strike you that in early 2000, your mother wanted her wedding rings back? Why do you think she wanted her wedding rings back?
She'd been married and wearing them for 40 years, and she missed wearing them. And
that's usually a symbolic thing. That she.
It was a symbolic thing, yes.
She missed wearing them.
Yes.
I understand that you had gotten a protective order so that he didn't go to the nursing home after a certain point. At what point did he stop going to the nursing home?
In February of 2000 is when the order of protection was put into place due to his behavior when he did visit her and phone calls that he made when he called her there.
I am going to try to resolve this issue, as I think, as wisely as I can. Your mother gave you this watch in 1999.
No, the watch, Bob gave her that watch late last year. If he wants that watch back, he can have that watch back. That watch has no significant sentimental value to me whatsoever. What has value to me are my mother's things. He abandoned their home, and if I hadn't retrieved the few family heirlooms that I had retrieved from the home, they would have been in the city dump.
I'm talking about these two things, Mrs. Weeks.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I can understand probably each of the children wanting to have a memento, something
yes, ma'am,
to look at and to touch of their mothers. I can also understand from your father's perspective. Are you living alone now, sir?
I'm living, I have my own room. I'm taking care of a 90 lady that will soon be 91 years old.
But this is somebody that you care for. This is a job?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you want these wedding rings back, Mr. Schroeder.
I bought those rings for my wife 47 years ago. I gave my wife the first ring at her home at East Indiana when I was invited to supper by her mother, who has passed away. I feel I'm entitled to these rings. I paid for them. Since my daughter has made such terrible accusations about me, which are all unprovable, and I feel that I should have the rings and the watch back, plus other things that she took out of the home.
We're not talking about other things,
all right,
Mr. Schroeder. We're talking about the watch
and the watch. Yes, ma'am.
And the rings. Now, let me ask you this question, Mr. Schroeder.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had to make a choice between the watch and the rings as a memento, which would you want?
I want them both, Your Honor. I paid for them.
That's not the answer, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your children don't talk to you, Mr. Schroeder. There has to be a reason. And unless you want to live the rest of your life by yourself, I would suggest you do a little soul searching and figure out what that was.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Schroeder says his daughter, Julie Weeks, won't return his late wife's possessions. Julie says it was her mother's wish that she have the items.
Are they of equal importance to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You feel the same way. One was a gift to your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you telling me, Mr. Schroeder, that each of these items are as important to you as the other?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question, Miss Weeks. If I were to ask you which of these items, memento from your mother, is more important to you, which would it be?
It would be her ring. I wear it every day.
Give her, Miss Weeks, the ring. Give Mr. Schroeder the watch. Mr. Schroeder, that was the wrong answer, sir. The fact that you paid for them and they were yours is not the answer.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you why, Mr. Schroeder. Children don't replace emotionally the loss of a parent, in this case, their mother. Sometimes mates replace emotionally their mate. They may never forget, but they replace emotionally. If you said to me, I want the rings back because we were married with those rings, she wore those rings for 47 years, they're part of our history, I want them, I would have given you the rings. And you have to understand that, Miss Weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
But to you, it didn't make any difference. You said to me, I paid for both. They're equally as important to me, so I want them both. Well, I knew that they weren't equally as important to your daughter. Right?
That's right.
You have the watch. You have the rings. You probably never make up. I assume. Is that right?
That is correct, ma'am.
I assume so. That's very sad. But
it is sad.
You're a grown-up adult, and he probably is a lonely old man who doesn't have at this point in his life the support of his children or his grandchildren. I assume you don't see your grandchildren either.
No, I have a call regularly from Marianne in Florida.
Well, Mr. Schroeder, you should do a little
Marianne
bit.
is Julie's oldest daughter.
How old are you, sir?
Hmm?
How old are you?
70 years old.
Well, that's not so old, Mr. Schroeder. There's still time for you to try to do something to get back into the good graces of your family. But you also have to look at yourself and say, what is it that I did over the last 45 years to my family that makes them all cut me off? Your children don't talk to you, Mr. Schroeder. There has to be a reason. And unless you want to live the rest of your life by yourself, I would suggest you do a little soul searching and figure out what that was. Thank you very much. The case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I tried to be kind to Bob. I've tried to show him care, and every time I open up and try to be kind to the man, he is hateful towards me.
I hope that someday that I can get to a point where I can see my grandchildren.
He has made the decision about his family.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Schwab versus Fadin. Step forward, please.
Office manager Bonnie Schwab is suing travel agent Giancarlo Fadin for the cost of 2 tickets to Greece. Bonnie says she won the tickets in a raffle, and Giancarlo reneged on the prize.
Miss Schwab, you were the lucky winner of 2 tickets to Greece.
Yes, I was.
About 2 years ago.
May of 2000.
And where did you win these tickets?
At the Valley Greek Festival that they have every year in May.
Was it a raffle ticket?
It was a raffle ticket. A girl I work with, her children go to school there, and I bought tickets.
And due to circumstances, according to your complaint, you were unable to use the tickets for a while. The defendant had donated the tickets. You have a travel agency, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you want to use the airline tickets. The defendant says you waited too long. That's your defense. Is that pretty much it?
Pretty much it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bonnie Schwab says after entering a raffle at a Greek festival, she won 2 tickets to Greece. Bonnie claims travel agent Giancarlo Fadin is trying to renege on the prize.
Do you have a copy of the stub, your contest stub, or any other literature from the contest?
I have a letter from the church stating that I won first prize in the raffle.
Okay. All right, and that was in May of 2000.
Right.
Did you schedule the trip?
We scheduled a trip. Mr. Fadin gave us an itinerary when we went to see him in January.
Who's we?
My boyfriend at the time. We went to see him, and he wrote us an itinerary. We discussed with him that we would like to go to Italy. Mr. Fadin said we could go to Italy instead of Greece, so he prepared an itinerary.
And this was done in January?
Of 2001.
And when were you planning to take the trip?
May of 2001. Subsequently, due to circumstances beyond my control, I was not able to go with my boyfriend. So I called Christine, Mr. Faden's wife, and asked them if I could put the trip off until October of that year. And they agreed to, of 2001, and they agreed that they would do that.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
Then what happened?
Well, then the summer passed, and then September 11th happened. I was afraid to travel, especially to Europe. Being an American, I didn't know what would happen. The airlines and the airports were crazy. So I wrote them a letter and faxed it to them in October, and I received no response. I asked them to call me.
Do you have a copy of that letter?
Yes, I do.
Okay, do you acknowledge receiving a letter from her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, we have a standard letter that we send to the organization. We donate to the Italian community, in this case the Greek community, because we specialize travel to Europe, especially Italy and Greece. And the letter pretty much states...
Well, let me take a look at the letter that you say that you send to everyone.
We won't have, because we would have sent it to church.
No, but you,
I never saw that
just a
letter.
second. You say here that the tickets are valid for 1 year from the date of the prize drawing. And this is dated March 15th of 2000. I have no idea when this was typed, Mr. Faden, but certainly you cannot impugn the information here to the plaintiff unless it was written on the stub that, you know, grand prize, 2 tickets to Greece, trip must be taken within 1 year.
We donate the tickets to the church with the intent of creating goodwill in the community. The church is then raffling and selling the tickets and collecting the money from, in this case, Ms. Swab, and we have no responsibility on that.
You do. You have responsibility for the 2 tickets, sir. First of all, you agreed to put...
We have donated the 2 tickets to church.
No, you have donated the 2 tickets, not to St. Nicholas Church, Mr. Fade. You have donated the tickets to be used as part of a raffle. I don't see what your problem is, Mr. Faden. It would seem to be now, if you wanted to purchase 2 tickets to Greece, it would be a lot cheaper than it was 2 years ago.
Well, let me explain. After September 11, my company lost $200,000. When the lady called to postpone her trip, I wasn't even sure that I would be in business the following spring.
But you are in business.
Well, thank you. I worked very hard for it.
Good, but you are in business, so you have to give her tickets.
I would like to call my witness at a certain point, Your Honor.
To say what?
Because she really dealt with pristine strategy most of the time.
More than happy to hear from the witness if she has something else to say.
No, I can stand. Your Honor, I don't know exactly what to say. I think I do understand that there was perhaps a miscommunication between the agency and the church and perhaps Ms. Schwab. However, when September 11th came, again, as Giancarlo has said, we really didn't know where we stood, and perhaps it's difficult for somebody who doesn't work in the travel industry to understand. There were literally envelopes, I mean loads of tickets coming back. Every phone call was a cancellation. It came so late. It came 2 years later. And I understand
well, it didn't come 2 years later. It came a year and a half later.
A year and a half
and
later.
You had already agreed to allow her to take the trip in October.
I understand that.
So
but
if
again,
you allowed her to take the trip in October, despite the fact that you really didn't have any choice, but you said, okay, you want to travel in October, travel in October. And then the events of September 11th, which you acknowledge devastated your business.
Totally.
You had no time to respond to this letter that she sent.
No,
because you were
really.
trying to
I
keep
was
your
too
heads
busy
above water.
Correct.
So you acknowledge that it was a tumultuous time.
Absolutely.
In your world, it was this important. This whole trip was...
18 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Green.
Thanks, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Miss Lee, you purchased a vacation package from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you could not use the package because it turned out to be non-transferable. You want your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant has a different story, which I will allow him to tell me briefly. Where did you get this vacation package from?
Girlfriend.
Man, a few words. You got it from Another girlfriend?
Another girlfriend, yes, ma'am.
Was the plaintiff a girlfriend of yours or just a friend?
Just a friend.
Now, when this girlfriend gave you the package, were you supposed to accompany her, or did she give it to you to go by yourself?
Well, I was supposed to accompany her on the trip, but I decided I didn't want to go.
When had she purchased it for you?
Back in August sometime.
And when did you decide not to use it?
About a week after she gave me the ticket, I decided not to use it.
Why didn't you give it back to her?
She didn't want it back. I just put the ticket up in the closet. She thought I was going to change my mind. She thought I was going to change my mind and go along with her. And I just put the ticket in the closet and just left it there.
So you didn't pay for the ticket?
No, I didn't.
And you didn't tell her right away that you had absolutely no intention of going and you're going to give her back the ticket?
She didn't want the ticket back.
Did you say to her, here's the ticket, I'm not going with you, I'm going to rip it?
She did not want the ticket back.
It's not my question. Did you hand her the ticket and say, I'm not using this ticket?
Miss Young lives in New York City. I live in Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
We spoke on the phone. I told her I was not going on the trip. She told me to keep the ticket. I probably would change my mind, and I told her I wasn't going to change my mind, and I had the ticket.
How did it come about that you sold the ticket to Miss Lee?
I met Mary. She was in a beauty shop across the street from my house. Someone introduced me to her, and we were talking. A couple of days later, she came over, and she was in my bed, and I was talking on the phone about the ticket to Aruba. And
who were you talking to?
A friend, another young lady on the phone. And she decided that, she said, well, I'll go. So I didn't say anything. I just kept talking. And when I got off the phone, she wanted to know could she purchase a ticket. And I said, yes. She gave me $200 deposit. She gave me a $200 deposit in cash at that moment. She wrote a statement out. I told her if she wasn't here the next day to purchase a ticket with the balance of the money, she would lose her deposit.
You told her that as she was putting on her stockings, sir?
No, they were off.
So you told her, I'm taking you $200. If you're not here by tomorrow with the balance of the money, you're going to forfeit the $200.
Yes.
Then you would have gotten a free ticket that you paid nothing for, plus her $200. That would have been you spending money on your trip.
I wasn't going on the trip.
Boy, he must have something that I don't see. All right, Miss Lee, let's come to you because I'm getting a little nauseous from him. You bought the ticket. You gave him how much?
This was my second date with Mr. Green. Mr. Green telephone rang. A gentleman called wanting to buy these tickets for $1,000.
Listen to me, Miss Lee. Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Person of good judgment you are not, because I've listened to him for a total of 5 minutes and I could tell he's not worth very much. Okay? Not a person of good character. So you gave him how much money in total for the ticket?
I gave him a total of $700.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, so you purchased a ticket and he gave you the ticket. Were you able to use the ticket?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
The ticket was not changed into my name, and I did not have a new reservation number for the resort hotel by the time I got in Aruba. I got stopped in the Richmond International Airport as being a thief of stealing his ticket.
Was this ticket including airfare?
Including airfare,
Okay.
round-trip ticket,
Okay.
and hotel.
Okay. Were you able to use the airfare?
No, ma'am.
So you weren't able to use the airfare, so you couldn't get there?
I couldn't get there.
Let me see the ticket that you have, please. You went there with his ticket?
Because yes, ma'am.
You went there with his ticket?
To the airport, yes, ma'am, on October 7th.
She did never go to the airport. When I tried to have the ticket changed, I needed a social security number and a date of birth to change the ticket. She would never give me a social security number and her date of birth so I can have the ticket changed. Yeah. And at one point, she was calling me in the middle of the night, cursing, drunk, talking about, I want you to go on a trip with me, then we'll go on a trip. I said, no, I'm not going on a trip, and if you don't give me the social security number and date of birth, there's nothing I can do.
Why didn't you just have her call the travel agent and give them her date of birth?
She wouldn't do it.
Really?
I gave her the telephone number to the travel agent. She wouldn't do it.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Green. After the night that you sold her this ticket, were you intimate with her again?
No.
Never?
Never.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
When I called her, she didn't want to be bothered.
But you did call her again.
Yeah, quite a few times. And
After she bought the ticket.
I didn't bring the tapes.
Just answer my question.
I did not bring...
You're not answering my question. I'm in charge.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Judge.
Go ahead, Judge.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Green, after you spent an intimate night, he was sufficiently dissatisfied with your performance so as not to want to see you again. Did that make you angry, sir?
And later today...
You want to speak. I want you to open your mind, start receiving. Don't be sending out. Receive what I'm saying, because it's something that you don't know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Lee says ex-boyfriend Willie Green owes for the cost of a bogus vacation package. Mary says she bought the tickets from him after their second date.
So, Mr. Green, let me understand this. She came and gave you the money for the ticket after you spent an intimate night, and evidently was sufficiently dissatisfied with your performance so as not to want to see you again. Did that make you angry, sir?
No, it doesn't.
Really? I think, Mr. Green, that you are not out any money, sir, because you didn't pay for this ticket. There are 3 people who were involved in this ticket. Let me understand this. There's Miss Lee, who paid $700 to you for the ticket. There's Miss Young, who bought you the ticket, right?
Right.
And paid whatever she paid for the ticket. Let's say she paid $1,000 for the ticket.
Paid $1,400.
Paid $1,400 for the ticket. So she paid $1,400, Miss Young. She paid $700. You paid Zippo, nada, and you get $700. Is that right? That's what you think is going to happen? Wrong. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
With Mr. Green being a retired police officer, I expect him to have better standards.
She wanted me to go on a trip with her, and I just refused to go on a trip with her.
I just wanted to have a good vacation. I saved up some money, and I wanted Richmond, Virginia. That's all. And he cheated me, and he's a womanizer.
She's a jilted lover.
It's not accurate. He's the womanizer and the jilted lover. He's out to get whatever he can get from anyone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Smith. Step forward, please.
26-year-old cosmetologist Crystal Smith is suing her aunt, daycare provider Veronica Smith, for the value of a 3-wheel ice cream bike. Veronica says the bike was stolen from her garage. She has a countersuit for unpaid rent and carpet cleaning fees.
Miss Smith, the defendant is your aunt.
Yes.
And it is your claim that she owes you for some sort of a bicycle that you were storing in her house that was stolen.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Me and my auntie, Veronica, we had made up an agreement for us to sell candy out of her garage. Me and my husband, we supplied candy, snowballs, any kind of snacks.
So this bicycle was not a bicycle that you ride on, it was...
It was like a 3-wheeler, a tracker.
Have a picture of it?
I have not a photo picture, but I went on the internet and went online and got on their site. I have internet.
What one looks like,
yes.
so that I have some idea of what
yes.
it looks like. Okay, let me
yes.
see it, please.
That's a model like it. The difference in that model.
Okay, so it's a bicycle that has it's a bicycle but has this little thing on top.
With the cooler system in the back with the umbrella.
And this is what you kept in her garage?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
She said she took it out of the garage. She forgot about the bike, left it out, and it came up stolen.
When was it stolen?
It was stolen on a Saturday night.
Do you know what happened?
It was stolen on Saturday night, so that particular night that we was in my garage, me and my family, we were playing some cards that night. So the bike was too big, so I didn't like no smoking in my house, so we was out there. And so I put the bike between my garage door and my car. It was in between. So some between Saturday night and Sunday, the bike got stolen. Mm-hmm. So in the first place, I did not give Krista Smith a permission to bring any bike to my house for any reason.
How long had the
bike had been there for...
Let me finish.
Okay.
How long had the bike been there before it was stolen?
The bike was been there for like 2 months. At the time that I told Krista for about 2 months to come and give her belongings out of my house. I kept saying, get the bike out of my house, get your stuff out of my house.
Did your aunt ever say to you, come and get your stuff out of the garage and house?
We had a get-together over one of my other auntie's house, my Aunt Mary. That night she mentioned, she said, I've been meaning to call you. I wanted to tell you to come and get the rest of the stuff out the garage. I said, I'm going to get a U-Haul, not this weekend, but next weekend, and I'll be over there to get the rest of the stuff.
that was there, because it was more than just the bike actually in the garage.
What was all your stuff doing in her garage?
We had a store set up in the back of our garage.
Why? Why?
We had started a business, and we had rented out an area that we were leasing. And the lease, the contract had got canceled. So in between time, I had called up my Aunt Veronica, and we had talked on the phone. Before we had actually opened up the store, she said we can come and store my belongings that I had there at her house.
How many times did your aunt tell you to get the stuff out of her garage?
Once.
When? Give me the date.
I don't know the exact date, because it was a weekend. We was over my Aunt Mary's house.
Do you know the date?
July 1st.
And when was the bike stolen?
The bike was stolen in August. August the 12th, 13th, whatever.
Okay.
And that was the agreement was signed. They would pay me $75 a week for selling the candy out of the garage. They never did pay me any money but once. They gave me $50 once. So after that, they would start bringing stuff to my house, bicycles, radios, and TVs and stuff. And as they were, I said, hey, wait, hold up. So I couldn't got nowhere to put my stuff in my own house, in my garage and stuff. You guys got to, come get your stuff. They never could come get their stuff out of my garage. And after I tried to get in touch with Crystal about the bike being stolen, for 2 weeks later, that's when she called me. And she called me on the phone, and then they started making threats against me, telling me they're going to burn my house down.
When did you make the agreement with her about renting the space to sell the candy?
Around in June.
And the bike was stolen in August.
Right.
So that they had your permission, at least your niece had your permission, to keep the bike in your garage.
No. She had only permission to sell candy, not bring bikes and stuff.
I'm not talking about bikes. I'm talking about this bike. This was the one that was stolen, right?
Right, that's what was
stolen.
stolen.
So you knew that this was the one she was going to sell the candy from.
But I didn't know that she was going to... She didn't ask me to bring no bikes or anything down to my house.
Ms. Smith, you're not paying attention to me. Maybe you're not following me. The law says that if you allow someone to store something in your garage, you want to speak. I want you to open your mind, start receiving. Don't be sending out. Receive what I'm saying, because it's something that you don't know. If you say to her, you can sell candy out of my garage and keep this in my garage, or even if you don't have an agreement with her for money, but you say, all right, you want to store it in my garage? I'll let you store it in my garage. And then at some point you say, listen, you got to come get your stuff out. You are still in a position where you have to exercise some ordinary care over her property. But what you did was you put this bike outside and then forgot about it. But for the fact that you brought it outside and forgot to bring it inside, it would have been inside. There was nothing else taken from the garage, right?
No.
So this, you're responsible for.
But I did not give her permission to bring any bikes or anything down to my house.
Yes, you did, because you just told me, and you have a counterclaim. In addition to that, the reason I know that you did, because you have a counterclaim for rent.
I have a counterclaim for...
Shh. You're not receiving. You have a counterclaim for rent, and in your counterclaim, you said you had an agreement with your niece to sell candy out of your garage, and that they were going to pay you $75 a week starting June 1st.
Yes.
You also said that they damaged your carpet.
Right.
I have something to add.
When?
The mess was not made because we were not on carpet. The carpet is only upstairs in the dining room. In the basement is the concrete flooring. In the garage, it's the same thing.
Who purchased this candy wagon? Who
Me
purchased
and my husband went together and purchased.
Let me see when this piece of equipment was purchased.
Here's the receipts.
You paid $2,500 for this thing?
Yes.
Now you have a store. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. When did you stop selling candy?
I'll say the week of the 4th of July.
So why didn't you get the bike out of her house until August?
Officially, we were still open for business. She did not tell us to...
That's not what I asked you. Why didn't you get the bike out when you stopped using it for business?
The week of the 4th, we could not sell any candy out of her premises because she said she was going to be out of town and we could not be there.
Fine, so that's out of town. When did she come back into town?
That following week. She was only...
Why didn't you start to sell your candy again?
Relocated with a new place of business.
So why didn't you get the bike out of her garage?
because the candy and the bike and everything that we own were still stored in the garage as well.
How much did you pay her for the storage?
The storage was supposed to be $50.
How much did you pay her for the storage?
We did not have a storage fee set up. All we had set up was a weekly fee for the candy.
How much did you pay her?
The agreement was $50 a week. It was not $75 a week.
Fine. How much did you pay her?
I paid her $50.
You didn't pay for 3 weeks in June, nothing in July, and nothing till
the whole 2 months that we were there, we didn't sell candy the whole 2 months.
Why should she take care of your stuff? She told you to move your stuff in July.
The bike got stolen between the 27th of July and the first week of August?
When was the bike stolen?
About 20. August 20.
2 seconds ago, you told me it was the 15th.
It was stolen in August. It was stolen in August.
It was stolen the last week
No,
of
it was
July,
stolen
the
in
first
August.
week of August.
Show me. How do you know?
The 23rd of August is my brother's birthday.
Oh, please, give me a break. Listen, you left this thing here. It was her fault. It was her fault that this got stolen because she took it and she put it outside and she forgot to bring it back. You show a bill for $2,500.
Yes.
You expect her to pay you $2,500 for this?
I have a receipt.
No way in this earth is she going to pay you $2,500. You took advantage of her. You took advantage of her good nature. You were storing your stuff there. She had to, in order to accommodate herself and her friends playing cards, move your stuff around. She told you to move it. You said, I don't have to move it. I'll move it when I get good and ready.
No, I did not.
Well, you did not. I'm going to tell you something. She has some responsibility. But she has this much responsibility, and you have this much responsibility. She has $200 worth responsibility. You have the rest. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Now, let's get to your carpet cleaning. Forget it. Let's get to your rent. Forget it. Do you understand? Forget it. Don't do any more favors, and don't let any more of your relatives store stuff in your property, because ultimately, if something happens, they're going to come looking for you for money. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Forward, please.
Jason Bria is suing his former friend, Julio Shorio, for non-payment of services rendered on a photo shoot.
Mr. Bria, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for work that you did for him.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that you don't get paid until he gets paid from his client, and that he is counterclaiming because he says that you've been slandering his good name all over town.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That is for half of that job. That job never even started.
I got it. Now I got it. You always know you keep talking, you're going to get to it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Bria says former friend Julio Shorio refuses to pay for his work on a photo shoot. Julia's countersuing for slander, defamation of character, and harassment.
So let me ask you a few questions. Mr. Scoria, you are a photographer.
Correct.
And you hired the plaintiff someone who you knew as a friend and also through business to do some work in preparing a calendar for a client.
That's correct.
And there is no issue that he performed the work.
That's correct.
Okay. How much was the total bill that you were to be paid by the client?
Roughly $17,000.
I want you to give me the name of this client.
The company is Primal Glassworks.
Now, before you started the job with Primal Glassworks, how much of a deposit did you take from them?
About half.
So you got paid half?
Correct. That was for paying for production. Okay.
You got paid half?
I have about $14,000 worth of checks that he's been paid by the client.
I'd like to see them. I assume you've been in touch with the Primal Glassworks
Yeah,
people.
he was actually supposed to be here, but due to some stuff happening.
Whatever, but these are the checks.
You got it.
And they're made out to you.
Can I see those myself?
Show them to the defendant.
This was not for the for this job. This was for a job I was doing for this client, but a separate project. This is not for the project that he is suing me for. This $3,000 check.
Give it back to me. No, just that one.
Okay.
Look over the rest, sir.
Yes, these are correct.
You were paid $14,335.
Minus
Not
that $3,000.
I already subtracted
Right, okay.
it. And without late fees, Mr. Bria, what were you owed?
I believe the total was $38.60.
All right, Mr. Scorio.
Yep.
You got paid practically your whole bill. Why didn't he get paid?
Well,
anything.
Okay, I'm happy to tell you. All the money the client paid me started earlier before the production. All that was going into the production of the photo shoot. That was not for profit or for paying crew. That was for...
Baloney.
No, that's how it works.
Baloney.
It's paying for materials.
Baloney. First of all, you told me that he paid you half of $17,000. But he didn't pay you half. He paid you practically the whole bill. That includes profit. So you paid production. Now, what production did you pay out of the $14,500 that you got paid from this client?
Paid for about $6,000 loan of camera gear.
Go what else?
About $2,000 for lights.
$2,000 for lights?
Right, in addition to all the props, the materials that we had to have Jay use to build for the sets.
Listen, you're not impressing me, sir. You owe him his money. And if you didn't, you owe him his money, and if you didn't pay him his money...
I'm not disagreeing that I owe him the money.
You're going to pay him now because you got paid most of what you were supposed to get paid from the client.
For pre-production, not for the shoot.
Listen, some other idiot may buy your argument, sir, but not when you stand there and tell me that you were paid for half because that covered your costs. The other half was profit, plus a little bit for him, right? And as it turns out, you were paid 80% of the entire bill. And so what you're telling me is that the other 20% that you were supposed to get paid was supposed to go to Mr. Bria, leaving you with zero profit.
Exactly.
They're leaving you with zero profit.
Correct.
Well, I want to tell you something, sir. You're an idiot. Unless you think I'm an idiot. Unless you think I'm an idiot.
I don't think you're an idiot, but I don't think you understand the entire picture here.
I understand the entire picture, sir. You had a good client who you evidently did a lot of other work for because this other $3,000 check was around the same time. So you had done work for them previously, right?
Yes.
This wasn't the only $3,000 check that you got for previous work?
That's the only check I got for that previous job.
Other than this $3,000 check, is this the only other work that you did for them before?
Correct.
Okay, and you got paid in full?
No, that is for half of that job. That job never even started.
So this is for half of this job. I got it. Now I got it. You always know you keep them talking, you're going to get to it?
Judge Judy.
Right.
That was never done.
Correct.
Nah. So they wrote it off on this job. So they said, we gave you $3,000, you did nothing. So the other job is $17,000. Hey, the other job is $17,000. We're going to pay you $14,000 plus the $3,000. Now you've been paid in full. And we don't feel like idiots because we paid you $3,000 for something that you didn't do.
That was for pre-production. We did pre-production shots.
Would you give this back to the plaintiff, please?
Your Honor,
you owe him $3,860, sir. That's without any late fees, and your counterclaim for slander is dismissed. If he says that you were trying to cheat him in the community, he was right. Goodbye.
Now, it's case number 115 on the calendar in the matter of Campos versus Vallis.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Campos, the defendant is a security guard at a club, and it is your claim that he pepper sprayed you, causing you injury after an incident at the club where you were a patron along with your brother and some other people.
That's correct.
The defendant says that your brother and you were both drunk that evening, and it was necessary to use the pepper spray in order to preserve the peace.
On what date did this incident occur, Ms. Campos?
On the night of Friday, May 15th, or the morning, Saturday morning, you could say, it was about 1 a.m.
Who had you been with that evening?
My brother and a couple of his coworkers.
You the brother?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your name.
My name is Moises.
Okay. Why don't you tell me what happened?
We were on our way out of the club. My brother and his friends and myself, of course, were walking out. I stopped to get some food that they sell there at the nightclub. So I grabbed 4 burritos. And on my way out, my brother's now sort of a ways ahead of me, friends sort of behind. We're kind of shuffling our way out since it is a club, there's a lot of people. We're making our way out of the club into the parking lot, which is also an alley. And I'm outside in the parking lot, and I see a ruckus, something going on in the alley. And I noticed that my brother is surrounded by a number of gentlemen. So the guys around my brother, the security are kind of, around him. And then I see Val with his arms crossed, sort of closest to me. So I ask him, hey, what's going on? Why are you guys doing this?
Well, you didn't ask quietly, because you would not have asked quietly. You would have been excited.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure we get it all right.
Yes. That's correct, Your Honor. And his arms are crossed. He's looking at me with this snarl. All I remember, the last thing I remember is this smile. It's kind of like oh, 'cause I'm bored. Pulls up. I don't even see. I don't know what it is. Yes.
Is that what he said, or is that the look?
Both. The look, and he said those 3 words, 'cause I'm bored. Next thing I know, I'm on my knees in a dress and heels. Face feels like it's on fire. I have no idea what's just hit me until I realize, moments later, I'm just like, oh my God, what has happened?
Okay, so that's when you were sprayed and you fell.
That's when I was sprayed, and I fell.
Mr. Campos, tell me what happened when you left the club.
As I walked out, I was pushed out by one of the bouncers because he was clearing everybody out, got me out.
Had you been asked to leave the club
I had
before?
been asked to leave.
Why? Do you know?
Just because it was the end of the club. Everybody was about to leave. I was finishing one of my drinks, and he didn't allow me to finish it, so.
I want you to be very accurate with me, Mr. Campos. So you were asked to leave the club, and you didn't leave right away? Is that what happened?
You're right.
Okay. And you must have said to somebody in authority, some security person, when I finish my drink, I'll leave?
Yes.
I'm speculating, but I want you to tell me what happened,
Sure.
sir.
So I'm trying to finish my drink. He said, you got to leave now. I said, okay, let me finish my drink. He said, no, you're leaving now. So he pushes the drink out of my hand. It breaks, pushes me out.
Okay. So that's not just pushing you out because the club is closing. You had a confrontation with a security person inside.
Right.
And they pushed the drink out of your hand. The drink fell, and then they pushed you outside.
Correct.
Where was your sister at that time?
She was getting us food. So she was in that same lobby area.
Okay. And so now the security guard pushed you out, so you're out ahead of your sister.
Correct.
How many guards pushed you out?
1.
Who? You don't know?
His name. No.
And it's not this gentleman?
No.
Were you there that night?
Yes, Judge.
And it wasn't this gentleman? No. Okay. Do you know who that was?
Yes.
Who?
A guard named Dave.
Where is he?
He's not here today.
So Dave pushed you outside. Did you see that?
Yes, I was outside when he was brought out.
Explain to me how he was brought out.
Dave was holding on to this gentleman, and 2 other guards were with him as they escorted him out to the outside and asked me to remove him from the area because he refused to leave and was demanding another drink.
Because they had spilled his drink.
He was demanding another drink, and they took that drink, apparently, I found out later, and removed him and brought him outside.
No, that's not what happened. No, that's not what happened.
Okay.
And since Dave isn't here, you can't even suggest to me that's what happened because you weren't there. What he says was he was told to leave, and he said, when I finish my drink, and Dave said to him, you're finished with your drink. And he said, I'm going to finish my drink, and the drink got spilled, and that's what caused the trouble. So now you're outside. Was it just Mr. who was with you, or are there other security guards there as well?
There were others around outside, yes.
So it was just Mr. that was bringing you out?
Correct.
How was he bringing you outside?
He grabbed me by the neck, pushing me with one hand, pushing me in the neck with another hand.
Okay. What happened when you got outside?
Got outside. I was very upset the way he treated me. We exchanged curse words toward each other. It was like a quick conversation because immediately he walked over to a group of security guards over next to where the parking lot is, right next to the club. And he said some words that I couldn't hear. It was kind of whispering or, face to face, and there were a lot of people around. And then that's when the next kind of phase happened.
Well, tell me about the next phase.
Once I was coming around toward the corner of J Street and 16th, I was walking.
So you were leaving the club?
Yes, now we're holding our food, walking away. My sister comes right behind me.
So at some point, your sister caught up with you because she was
right
buying
behind
the
me.
food.
Correct.
And she got close enough to you to hand you a burrito.
Correct.
Is that correct?
No.
Not correct.
No.
Okay. And you saw the whole thing.
Yes, I was out in the parking lot.
You were out in the
ma'am.
parking lot.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me how he got the burrito.
As we were walking through the parking lot, he kept wanting to go back into the club and have a conversation with the other security officer. Kept calling him names and how he was going to
Dave.
physically hurt him. Dave.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. And we walked down the parking lot, telling him, no, it's time to go, time to go. And we were shaking our pepper because he kept advancing us that he was going to hurt us. And it was like, no, sir, you need to go.
You're not answering my question. My question is, when did his sister, who had purchased the food, give him the burrito?
After I had sprayed her, apparently.
After what?
After I had sprayed her with pepper spray.
After you sprayed her, she handed him a burrito?
She'd had the burrito in her hands, so that's the only time I could see that she would have gave it to him was when.
So the answer is you don't know.
I don't know, ma'am.
Then say I don't know.
I don't know.
Perfect. Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, you want to tell me what you allege she did to you to require you to use what I perceive to be force with regard to her? What did she do to you?
And later today,
there was an agreement about the bedroom. I did use it a few times. It was a little weird, you know, still with her stuff being in there. And then I came home and there had been a deadbolt installed on the bedroom door.
security company manager Nufris Val Vallis pepper sprayed her outside a nightclub. Val claims that Alma spit on him.
Your last name is?
Macom, M-A-C-O-M.
Go ahead.
What happened? Mr. Vallis and I work together, and you got to understand when we're out.
I don't have to understand anything. I asked you a simple question.
The burrito was given when he first came up. He said he didn't want to leave. I told him, get off the property now. She came up. Val had told her to get him off the property. She handed him the food and stuff. They started walking. As soon as we passed the police officers, then the verbal confrontation started.
Just a second. So they were walking away from the club?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when they were walking away from the club? Now they're leaving. Situation has been diffused. Sticks and stones will break my bones. They're leaving. Keep going.
The verbal confrontation started.
What verbal confrontation?
The continuous, I'm going to kick your F you. So we just followed at a distance. We were shaking our cans, saying, please leave. Knock
They
it
were
off.
leaving. Listen to me. They were leaving. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you follow them for, shaking your cans? Because they were calling your names?
No, ma'am. He was calling everybody names.
Because he was calling whoever was in earshot names. They were leaving, walking away with their food in their hands. Why were you following them?
To ensure that it did not escalate, ma'am.
It wasn't escalating if you weren't there. Do you understand that? It wasn't going to escalate if you weren't there. You following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Now, Mr. Villa, so now he's outside and she's outside, and before you pepper spray her, she hands him the food and they're walking away. Unless you're calling him a liar, is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened?
We were in the parking lot, and he kept wanting to go back to the club.
No, that's not what he said. Then he's a liar. He's calling people names and he's yelling and he's angry, but he's walking away according to your coworker. So are you calling him a liar?
No, ma'am.
Well, either he's a liar or you're a liar. Which one is it? Because he didn't say he was going back to the club. He said he was walking away.
He was back.
So he was walking away, cursing, but walking away with his sister. So which one is it? Was he walking away or was he walking back to the club?
He was backing away, walking backwards away from the club across the parking lot, ma'am.
So he's backing away and you're following him.
At a distance, ma'am, yes.
You're following him.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
So we're walking away, asking him to vacate as we're asking everybody else to
That's
leave
where
the
he's
club.
going. He's
Yes.
leaving. He's in the parking lot, walking towards a car.
And his sister walks up beside me, asked me what we're doing. I said, we
You mean
need
she
him to
comes
leave.
back?
She comes walking up beside me from
Well,
behind me.
if they were leaving and walking together with her brother, and you're following them to the parking lot.
She had separated away from her brother
Yes. At
And-
what point did she separate away from her brother?
as we were walking across the parking lot.
She veered off?
Yes.
And who was with her brother?
He was by himself.
Go ahead.
And as she walked back up beside me, she asked what we were doing, and I said, we were asking your brother to leave. Please get him to leave the parking lot.
He was leaving.
You think I believe you? I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Okay.
You may have had what you considered an unruly patron, but you don't know what went on inside. He tells me what went on inside, which sounds pretty reasonable. He was told to put down his drink. It was time to leave the club. He said, when I'm finished with my drink, I'll leave. And David said, put down your drink, you're leaving. So that's what he says, which I must believe because I don't have David here. And when you got outside, he was very belligerent. You were belligerent, weren't you?
Cursing.
Oh, yeah, I believe that you were cursing and that you were not behaving like a reasonable person, right? What doesn't make sense to me is why you and your cohorts followed him out to the parking lot, unless he just ticked you off with his bad language. And bad language does not require pepper spray, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, you want to tell me what you allege she did to you to require you to use what I perceive to be force with regard to her? What did she do to you?
She stepped in front of me. She pushed me back with her hands. She had food in her mouth and spit food out. And when she went to slap me, that's when I reacted and blocked her from slapping me, and I pepper sprayed.
I don't believe you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
why would you put a lock on the bedroom door? Why?
Because he was getting threatening, because he was jealous and he was insecure that I was out having fun and he was stuck at home.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alma Capo says security company manager Newfirst Val Vallis pepper sprayed her outside a nightclub. Val claims that Alma spit on him.
How long have you been in the security business?
Since 2006.
Well, if you've been in the security business for just a short time, I'm going to give you some advice. What did you do before you went into the security business?
I worked for the state of California.
As what?
As a correctional officer.
Well, then you had a short fuse. Did you retire from that job?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you're dealing with unruly prisoners, which is supposed to diffuse the situation as best you can, but he's not an unruly prisoner. He's a patron in a bar. And you're not supposed to walk around and show your muscle. What you're supposed to do is try to diffuse the situation as best you can. This situation could have been easily diffused by just watching them get into a car and leave, which is where they were going. They were going there, according to you and according to him and according to logic. He was going with a lot of foul language. But that doesn't hurt you, and it doesn't hurt anybody in the bar, right? It may hurt their feelings, but it doesn't hurt them and doesn't require use of the kind of force that you used that day, which was to pepper spray her. I don't believe she went to hit you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500 as requested. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, clearly these gentlemen are liars.
The times we have to deal with unruly people.
Judge Judy saw right through them.
Don't get crazy, don't get drunk.
They dug their own grave.
You know, have a good time, but go home peacefully.
And they deserve it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anthony versus Anderson. Step forward.
21-year-old Dana Anthony is suing her former live-in boyfriend, Ryan Anderson, for his share of 2 months' rent and for half of a lease termination fee.
Miss Anthony, the defendant was your boyfriend. You signed a one-year lease on an apartment with him. He moved out prior to the termination of the lease. You want him to be responsible for certain fees and rent.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson says that you made it impossible for him to live there, and that's why he moved out. Is this the new boyfriend?
Yes.
Stand up. I have a few questions for you. Last name is?
Talbert.
Mr. Talbert, when did you meet Miss Anthony?
First week of December, maybe a day before.
And at that time, Miss Anthony, you and Mr. Anderson were sharing the apartment together.
Yes.
But you had already terminated your relationship.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Talbot, during the month of December 2008, how many nights did Miss Anthony spend in your home?
Roughly 10 to 12 of those nights in my home.
Thank you. You could be seated.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And this is Mr. Anderson's defense to moving out early and not paying you. See, he said that you had a one-bedroom apartment and you elected to take the bedroom when you separated.
I took the bedroom because I purchased all the furniture in the apartment, and when we broke up, we made an agreement that he would stay in the living room and I would get the bedroom. I said, anytime I'm not there, feel free to stay in the bedroom. I'm not there. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Mr. Anderson says that he did just that. He didn't tell me that that was an agreement that you had. Was that an agreement?
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
But he said at some point he did move into the bedroom.
And when you came home and found him in the bedroom, you put a lock on the bedroom door.
He did not move into the bedroom. He was never in there.
Then, Mr. Anderson, your defense to this action is that she made it impossible for you to live there, which is why you moved out on December 31st. Tell me how she made it impossible for you to live there.
Well, obviously, since we were no longer together, I was just basically when I was home trying to keep to myself, just kind of stay out of her way, leave her alone. And she was constantly flaunting, you know, that she had moved on, that she was with somebody else. You know, I obviously had no way of knowing if she was, but that's what was being said to me. There was an agreement about the bedroom. I did use it a few times, but it was a little weird, you know, still with her stuff being in there, but it was a room and her cats weren't in there, so I used it. And then I came home one day and I looked down and there had been a deadbolt installed on the bedroom door. And the only reason I had access to any clothes or anything for the weekend was because I had left a load of clothes in the dryer. Everything I owned aside from a load of clothes and my computer was in the bedroom.
Why did you put a deadbolt?
It was not a deadbolt.
What was it?
It was a regular lock, like
Why?
a bathroom door lock.
Why?
Because he was getting threatening, because he was jealous and he was insecure that I was out having fun and he was stuck at home. And he was grilling.
Just a second. Miss Anthony, how did it make any difference if you put a plain old lock on the bedroom door? You weren't sleeping there anyway, most of the time. So why would you put a lock on the bedroom door? Why?
Because he kept getting threatening and asking me and questioning me about where I go, what I'm doing, and when it's none of his business.
But what difference does it make, Miss Anthony?
Because he kept pushing the fact that he wanted the bedroom, and that if I had the bedroom, I should pay more. But then he wouldn't want to pay more if he had the bedroom.
All right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Miss Anthony, I agree with him. By putting a lock on the bedroom door, you effectively, constructively evicted him from part of his home. And you can't do that. And if that's what you did, you have to take care of the rent yourself. And, I mean, it may have been uncomfortable and was probably a very good idea that one of you left. But the fact that you precipitated it by changing the rules and putting a lock on the bedroom door when you, in fact, said to him, you can use it whenever you want, whenever I'm not home. And according to Mr. Talbot, you spent the last half of the month of December at his home. So there was really no reason why Mr. Anderson couldn't use the bedroom and had to be relegated to the living room. And you changed the rules. You pay the rent.
Obviously, it didn't stay locked.
The case is dismissed.
All right, Judge. Yeah, it's case number 47 on the calendar in the matter of Cohen versus Lovelace.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Cohen, this is your daughter.
Yes.
You're suing her for some sort of rent nonsense and moving expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter says she agreed to pay you certain moving expenses because you were moving, relocating with her someplace. She did, in fact, give you a substantial amount of money. There was never any agreement to pay you rent. Is that right?
I agreed to pay $1,000 of the move.
Of the move, but not rent?
No.
Did you, in fact, give her $1,000?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you said you gave her more than $1,000.
Yes, plus the furniture, which was a little over $2,000.
What furniture?
Furniture that I bought with my fiance's military money. We went in August.
I'm asking you how much cash you gave your mother.
$2,229. Which
In cash?
Plus the, yes. Well,
In
no.
cash. Miss Lovelace, my question is a simple one. You said that you agreed to give her moving expenses. I want to know how much you gave her in moving expenses.
$1,000.
In cash?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to explain to me why you're suing your 18-year-old daughter. Let's go.
Because she asked me to move with her to Georgia in February because her fiance was going to be stationed there after Iraq. We had a very bad relationship for 2 years. And
Georgia? Just a second.
Yes.
From where?
California.
Now, in California, I would assume that if you were willing to move with her to Georgia, you had nothing that was holding you here.
Well, I had friends and family, and I had a job, but my job transferred out to Georgia. And I asked for them to transfer me when she asked me to move. Because she asked me, and I felt because we had such a bad relationship prior to this.
Why?
Because of her father. Her father kept her away from me. He was very abusive and controlling.
So, whatever. She had been living with her father?
Before that, no, she was living with her ex-stepmother.
Where did you live from age 10 on? With whom?
Back and forth.
Between your mother and your father?
Yes.
From age 16 to 18?
Back and forth.
Got it. Go ahead.
So, because we had this bad relationship.
I got you. You decided to move with her to Georgia.
I decided to move. But we had agreed.
You know, that's what they make telephones for.
Right. But we had agreed, she was afraid to go alone because she was only 18.
Then she shouldn't have gone.
She didn't want to go. So I agreed to go with her, and we agreed to split the moving expenses, the truck, the hotels, the food, the gas. Then we were going to rent a place together because her fiance wasn't getting back until around October or December. And she signed a lease. I have a lease with her name on it. And we were supposed to pay half and half. And she was getting the money out of her fiance's checking account because he was getting paid from the Army. And when we got to Georgia and I told her how much she owed me, she said, I don't have any money. And I said, well, I thought you were saving. And she said, no, I spent it. So I was stuck. We had to find a place to live. She said that her fiance was going to get a per diem $5,000 for his 1-year anniversary and that she would give me some money for that. She bought me some furniture, which it was a liability.
Now I'll take the amount that you bought her in furniture.
$2,229.29.
And did you take the furniture with you, Miss Cohn, when you moved back to California?
Yes, but it cost me to rent a truck. I mean, I had to rent a truck to do that. Okay.
She's 18 years old. What do you want? Keep going.
I wanted her to go get a job and pay me.
She gave you furniture worth $2,229, and you accepted that in partial payments of what she owed you. Did she give you $1,000 in cash?
She gave me $800 in cash. And then she never paid the rent.
And how long did you live there?
8 months.
Did you pay the rent?
Yes.
Good. Did you live there?
Yes, but she lived there too with her fiance, and they used the utilities. And I couldn't afford it. I
don't blame you.
I mean, I couldn't pay $1,450 a month. I was only paying $1,250 here, and my hours I was making less money in Georgia. And she agreed that she was going to pay half the rent, and her name is on the lease.
What did she give you $3,100 for?
She owed me over $10,000. It just made
For
a small
what?
for the move.
What did she owe you $10,000 for the move? You rent a Ryder truck. That doesn't cost you
No,
$10,000.
I had to rent movers. I have a receipt right here for the moving truck for $2,358.
What else?
And then the hotels were $1,256.95.
How long did you stay in hotels?
We stayed 2 weeks in a Ramada Inn in Georgia because we didn't have a place to live. We had to find a place to live.
I want to see all the bills for the hotels.
I have it all on my bank statements. Gas and hotels and everything.
Just give me the hotels, Miss Cohen. She's your 18-year-old daughter. Give me the hotels.
But I wouldn't have gone with her if she hadn't agreed to pay all this.
Get over it, Miss Cohen. You know, you see how unsympathetic I am? See how unsympathetic they are?
Okay, she lived with me for 8 months, her and her fiance, and didn't pay any rent. Actually, they were married in December. He's supposed to be taking care of his wife. I'm not supposed to be taking care of her anymore.
You want to tell me about the rent?
I didn't have the money to pay it. When he was in Iraq, he was making tax-free money, but when he got home, he was making less. So we had our other bills. We're still paying off my engagement ring. We're paying for our phone bills.
What expenses did you pay in the apartment?
Sometimes I bought groceries.
Did you and your mother have any discussions about the rent while you and your fiancé were living there?
We fought about it, how we should be paying half of everything, but we just didn't have the money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I still don't understand why you're suing her.
Because I'm afraid that something's going to happen and I'm not going to be able to work.
I still don't understand why you're suing her, madam, but I understand why she's not talking to you.
And later today,
you had, in fact, emancipated yourself.
Right.
You were not supporting him anymore.
No.
You were not responsible for him anymore. Nope. So you are dismissed.
moving expenses, and unpaid rent.
Miss Lovelace, while you and your fiancé were living there, were you working?
No.
Why not?
I tried finding a job. I posted my resume on Monster. I applied to Walmart. I was looking on Craigslist. No one ever got back to me, except for one person at the jewelry store. I only worked there for a week, though, because the hours were slow and he couldn't afford to keep me on.
How much did you spend for an engagement ring?
$6,000.
And when did you spend $6,000 for an engagement ring?
February 2008.
And when did you move with your mother?
July. Oh, wait.
So you bought the ring before?
Yes.
Your Honor.
When I wasn't on his bank account.
They also bought, when he came home, they put $6,000 on a $20,000 truck with a $300 a month payment and $119 a month insurance payment that they couldn't afford.
Which I thought, being, over in Iraq, that he deserved something for himself because I spent a lot of his money when he was gone. So when he got home, he wanted to buy something for himself. So I didn't argue when he wanted to get a truck.
You're absolutely right.
But he owed me money.
You're absolutely right. You can do that as long as you're paying rent.
Which I didn't.
Well, I understand that. And that's what your mother was fighting with you about. See, but what I don't understand, Ms. Cohn, is with it all, I wouldn't be suing my 18-year-old daughter.
I can't afford not to because I need the money for emergencies. I don't make a lot of money.
If you said to me, I needed it because I need it for my dialysis, I can understand.
Well, I have arthritis too.
I don't care. Listen,
Okay.
I have a little arthritis too. I'm still working.
And I work.
Did you understand what I'm saying to you?
I understand.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying to you. I get the fact that you had an agreement with your daughter, that your daughter and her fiance, and that her husband would pay their share of the rent, which is half the rent, and they didn't do that, and that you're angry and annoyed at them. I'm speaking before you start to talk, put on your listening ears. I understand that you're annoyed with them. I understand that in all probability she owes you rent because she doesn't really have an excuse why she didn't pay the rent other than the fact that she didn't have the money, and that's not an excuse. I'm speaking. I still don't understand why you're suing her. And if you say to me, because I need it for emergencies, that's not a reason that a mother sues her 18-year-old child.
Because I'm afraid that something's going to happen and I'm not going to be able to work and that I'm by
Now
myself.
I understand why you didn't get along. All right, how much was the rent?
The total that she owes me...
No, I didn't ask you what the total she owes you is.
$1,450 a month.
And how many months did you live there?
August until the end of March.
So 8 months.
Right.
Well, you owe her your half of the rent. It's $5,800.
My view on it is, you know, she told me she'd always be there for me and she would help me. And when I did need her help, she agreed and she went with me. And
that wasn't your contract. Your contract was you signed a lease. You were supposed to split the rent, and the fact that you didn't have the money and that you felt as if your boyfriend needed a truck as a nice welcome home present doesn't negate the contract that you had with your mother to pay your half of the rent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Still don't understand why you're suing her, madam, but I understand why she's not talking to you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't really think it was fair. You know, she's my mom. She's supposed to help me out.
She basically kept thumbing her nose at me and saying, I'm not going to pay you, even though she promised me.
Our relationship started going downhill because we always fought about money.
She would go get her nails done and spend $100 on her hair and go to the movies and go out to dinner and just throwing her money away.
Hopefully we can move past it and we can, you know, build our relationship up to where it was.
I hope that we can put it under the bridge and maybe start talking again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chamberlain versus Hogue Ryburn. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Natasha Chamberlain is suing her ex-boyfriend, 18-year-old Jesse Hogue, and his mother, Shannon Ryburn, for unpaid rent and a loan to buy a car.
Miss Chamberlain, your complaint alleges, what is your last name?
Hogue.
That you and Mr. Hogue were in a relationship, that you loaned him some money to buy a car, and you covered some bills and expenses for him. He was supposed to pay you back. Mr. Hogue says that he more than compensated you for the money that you gave him. He does acknowledge that you did give him some money to buy a car. He says it was a lot less than you claim it was. You're his mother?
Yes.
And you are suing his mother as well because at certain points during these transactions, Mr. Hogue was under the age of 18.
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And how old are you, Mr. Hogue?
I'm 18 now.
Well, let's discuss your circumstance. How old were you when you moved out of your house?
I just turned 17.
Tell me why you moved out of the house.
I graduated high school early. I got my CNA, Certified Nurse's Aide. I got it I started when I was 16. I finished when I was 17. I was making some pretty good money. I moved out to a different town because that's where I was working at the time.
So you had, in fact, emancipated yourself.
Right.
Okay, so we've taken care of that problem because you do understand that anytime you make a contract, even a loan, with someone who is underage, they can't be held to that contract unless certain things happen. And one of the things that can make them responsible is if they have been emancipated, and they can be emancipated by your own actions. And certainly Mr. Hogue and his mother would agree that by moving out of the house in a circumstance where he had finished school, was working full-time,
yes,
was making good money,
yes,
you were not supporting him anymore,
no,
you were not responsible for him anymore,
no.
So he was emancipated. Now, did you have any contact with Miss Rayburn?
No, I did not.
So you are dismissed from this lawsuit. We don't need you anymore. You can sit down. You don't have to sue his mother. He's totally responsible for any contracts that he entered into when he was 17.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Perfect. That simplifies everything. Tell me about the alleged loan you made to him. When was it?
July 23rd, 2008.
Tell me about it.
He had just sold a car that he had purchased in December of 2007. He couldn't afford the payments anymore, and he wanted a cheaper car payment, so he sold the car and paid off the loan that he had with his mother. And he could not get another loan since he was a minor, and he had asked me for help, and I agreed to because he had a job and he was making.
And you were in a relationship at the time?
Correct.
How much money do you allege that you gave him?
I gave him $3,000.
You say not.
Correct.
How much did she give you?
She gave me $900.
What kind of a car did you buy?
I actually purchased the car with the money I had extra, left over from the car I sold, and I got in a wreck and needed some parts for it, and it was a 95 Honda Civic, and that's what I needed the $900 for.
How much did you pay for the car?
$1,500.
Bird, would you check the blue book on a 1995 Honda Civic and tell me what the blue book value was? And you said you paid $1,500 for it?
$1,500, yes.
Not $3,000.
No.
They got a whole bunch of them here. It's not
What
a
kind of
hatchback,
Civic?
right?
It was
Sedan?
an EX two-door, 5-speed.
Okay, fair, good. Which one you want?
Well, it's fair, good, and excellent, right? So
Yeah.
let's take the one right in the middle.
There you go.
$3,025.
You got a real good deal for $1,500.
The car had front-end damage. It was a good car. It just needed work.
Show me that you gave him $3,000 instead of $900.
Withdrawals are on the back page.
Mm-hmm. What's the $2,400 here, July 24th of 08?
I had to write a personal check. I was trying to take out the money with my debit card. I was unaware that you can only take out so much a day, so I had to write a check for cash at my local bank.
Okay. Now, so let's deal with the car. You say that whatever the circumstance was with the car, and it looks to me as if it's $3,000 that she gave you.
Right.
You purchased a car for her?
Yes, I bought a 19.
When?
It was May of this year. It was a 98 Pontiac Sunfire.
Did he buy you a car?
No, he did not.
Really? Tell me about it.
I bought it from a friend named Mike. She needed a car to go back and forth to school. I bought her the $500 car for my friend. It was a decent car. It was worth a little bit more than $500, but he was a good friend of mine. So, and then she said we were square from there.
You still driving that car?
No, I am
What
not.
happened? What
I
happened
sold
with
that car.
Just a second. When did you sell it?
May of 2009, sorry.
Who did you sell it to?
Sold it to a young couple in Overland Park, Kansas.
And where did you get that car from?
I got that car from Mike, his friend. I bought it for $500.
You have proof that you paid $500 to Mike for that car?
Not on me today, no.
You have proof that you paid $500 for that car?
No, I don't.
Well, if I called Mike, what would Mike tell me with regard to who paid the money?
It'd be me because I went out. He owed $300 to a junkyard to get a truck out. I went out there personally and gave the $300 to, it was 7 Highway Junkyard. I gave them $300 so he could get his Ranger out, and then I gave him $200 extra when he got off of work. And then I drove him out in this Pontiac Sunfire, and we drove back, and then she got the car from there.
Is that right?
That is right, but he did not pay for it. He didn't have a job at the time.
How many payments did you make on the loan, sir?
I made 2 of $140 cash.
Is that correct?
He made 5 out of a $3,000 car payment.
5 at $140 each?
$138.44, correct.
You want to take 2 or you want to take 5?
I'll take 5.
You owe $1,800 on the car loan. I gave you credit for the $500 for the car that you paid for her, and for the 5 payments at $140 each. You owe her $1,800. Now, what else do you think he owes you money for?
Rent. We had a lease together, and when he was unemployed, he could not provide his half of rent. So I was making the full payments on those for 5 months.
I was actually working at another nursing home in Paola, Kansas. So yes, I was making my half of the payment. And then when she moved out, I paid 2 extra months when she was out with her boyfriend or whatever. So
when you were living together, did you have individual bank accounts or joint bank accounts? How did you work your finances?
I had my own personal checking and savings account. He did open one that I know of, but
how was the rent handled?
I paid cash through my landlord.
Do you have receipts?
I don't have receipts.
Do you have? How did you pay your rent?
just cash. She lived right down the road from us.
You're not living together anymore?
Oh, no.
Perfect. It sounds like a perfect thing. You owe $1,800. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Yeah, it's case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of Clark versus Hawkins.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Clark, the defendant was a friend of yours who you allowed to move into your home. And it is your claim that you made a loan to him to put it as a down payment on a car of $1,000. Things turned sour in the home and you wanted him to leave. You claimed that he damaged your property by breaking down the door and the door frame. And in addition, you claimed that he had you falsely arrested.
Mr. Hawkins says that there was no loan. He says that you tried to lock him out of the apartment, which is why he damaged the door. And as far as the false arrest charge is concerned, he says that you and Mr. Hawkins, as well as your boyfriend, were arrested that day. When did he move in with you and why?
He moved in with me in September of 2008. At the time, he was living with his best friend's parents, and he basically told me that he needed to move out of the home and he had nowhere to go.
How did you know him?
I met him through a mutual friend of ours.
How long ago?
In June 2008.
Why would you let him move into your house?
We befriended each other. We started hanging out. He seemed like a really nice guy at the time, a really sincere, sweet guy. And out the kindness of my heart, I allowed him to stay at my home. He slept on my couch.
Odd.
Right.
Now tell me about this $1,000 that you gave him.
In April of 2009, he approached me and asked me if he can borrow $1,000 from me because he needed a car. At the moment, I didn't actually give him the money, but 2 weeks in, I actually ended up giving him money. I have paperwork here that I went to the bank and I withdrew $1,000 out of my account.
Just a second. Tell me why you gave him the money after 2 weeks.
He needed a car. He needed another car. The car that he had was breaking down. He didn't want to pay for it to get serviced, and he needed to get back and forth to work.
Where was he working?
He was working at St. John Hospital in Santa Monica.
Doing what?
A lift associate for the lift team. So it's not like it's not like I just.
What were you doing?
I'm a lift team member. I lift and turn patients.
Still working there?
Yes.
So you needed a car to get back and forth to work?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have the documents here and saying that I did.
He doesn't deny that you gave him $1,000. He just says there was no expectation of being
We had
repaid.
a agreement that he promised to pay me back $300 a month for the next 4 months, and the payments were going to start actually on May 17th, the actual day that he came to my home and damaged my home. That was the day that the first payment was supposed to be started. No such payment was received at that moment.
Okay, let's deal with the car money first.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Where do you want me to start?
You needed a car.
I needed a car, which is true. She did give me the $1,000, but it wasn't for me to pay her back. It was.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
If you interrupt again, and I do this, if you interrupt him again, I'm dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Yes.
I gave you an opportunity to speak. Now it's his turn. Got it?
Yes.
Tell me the circumstances, sir. Tell me what you said to her, what she said to you. That's what I want to hear.
First, I asked, can I borrow $1,000?
Okay, can I, just a second, can I borrow $1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
And she
said?
She was reluctant to give it to me because she's like, I don't think you're going to pay me back. And I said, okay, I'll pay you back. She was like, let's write a contract. She didn't write the contract out. So then 2 weeks passed, and then she offered, like, sex.
No, don't tell me offered like. I want you to tell me what she said, Mr. Hawkins.
Basically, I give you the $1,000 and we continue to have sex with each other.
Okay.
And I did it. I had sex with her before, so I don't see would it be a difference to not have sex and do it this time. I haven't been having sex with her since December. This is now April, and like she had tried to come on to me, and I like reject her.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm just saying. I reject her.
You rejected. You stayed on the couch.
Yes.
You owe her $1,000, Mr. Hawkins. Very good. All right. Quiet.
Excuse me?
That's what you said. Can I borrow $1,000? And she said, I'm reluctant. You said, I'll pay you back. And you said, I'm reluctant. And then 2 weeks later, she gave you the money. Now, let's hear what happened on May 17th.
Okay, on May 17th, I approached him for the first payment of the money. He basically got on my face and told me that he wasn't going to give me anything. He didn't owe me any type of money. I was on the phone at the time.
You want to lose? Fast?
I was on the phone at the time with another friend of mine, and a friend of mine heard the commotion going on.
Don't tell me what the friend heard.
I went to pick up the friend because at this point I was afraid for my life. I picked up the friend, and we came back to my apartment, and I sat outside, and I called the police. I have phone records here that I showed that I called the
police for.
Because he was threatening me at that point, the reason why I left.
Just a second. You left.
I left.
He was threatening you. Tell me what he was saying to you.
That he runs this ish, and he was going to hit me, and if he can't, by law, he lives there now. I can't do anything to get him out. He's not going anywhere. He was going to hit me and vandalize my car.
No, I don't believe he said that.
Oh, he did.
No, I don't believe he said that. I believe that he said he's not moving anywhere because he lives there now. And then you left. You left and you came back with a friend.
Right, and I said...
What did you say when you came back with a friend?
Nothing. We sat outside the car, and I called the police at that point. I sat outside and I called the police because I needed him out of my apartment at that point because he threatened to hit me. That's the reason I left.
Let me explain something to you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that he threatened to hit you. But you called the police and you tried to get him out of the apartment. Just answer my question.
Right, yes.
Police came and they must have told you that...
He fled the scene.
Just a second. Did the police tell you that he was a tenant in your apartment?
Yes.
And that you couldn't get him out?
Right.
So what did you do?
I went inside. Actually, before I went inside, he came with the young lady that he's brought to court now. After he fled the scene, he came back with the young lady in the car, and I told the police at that point.
Well, he fled. Did you flee the apartment?
I fled to get help.
Fled.
I was afraid for my life at that point.
Then
Judge.
you should have fled
I
and
was
gone
really
to the...
afraid.
Miss Clark, don't play. If you fled and were afraid for your life, you go to the police station. You don't go pick up a friend. That's what you do if you are afraid for your life. You don't come back with somebody who's not in authority.
Okay.
Okay? So let's not play with each other. There are things that I believe and there are things that I don't believe.
Okay.
Right? Because it's based on common sense and my years on this earth.
Owes for a loan, damage to her home, and a false arrest.
Now, he left and then he came back with this young lady.
Yes.
And what happened?
At that point, when I was still talking to police, I told the police that he came back with the young lady. They did nothing about it.
Right, because they said he's allowed to be there, because he's a tenant.
They didn't say that.
Well,
They just,
but that's what I'm
Okay.
telling you, and that's what you knew from before. Go ahead.
So at 4 o'clock in the morning, she started playing on my phone. She called me.
Just a second. Was he still in the apartment?
No, he left altogether.
He left. They both then
They
left.
both left, correct.
Okay, and then what did you do?
I went inside, and at that point, I started watching TV. I finally fell asleep around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, they started playing on my phone. I turned my phone off.
Just a second. Did you lock the door?
I locked the door.
Did you double bolt it from inside?
I locked the top locks.
So that means that he could not get in.
He can get in. He had a key. No. He has the key. He had the key to the apartment. He stayed there. He has a key.
Go ahead.
I only had a key to the bar door. I didn't have a key to the wooden door. So that's how she locked me out.
Okay, that's what I assumed.
Okay.
So you locked him out. Hey, Miss Clark, don't play with me. So you locked him out.
I locked the door.
You
Judge,
locked
I was
him
afraid for my
out.
life. He threatened me.
Listen, Miss Clark, just answer my questions, madam. You locked him out. The police had already told you that you had no right to lock him out, but you locked him out and he broke the door down. Is that what happened?
Yes. He came
Is that what?
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
He can do that.
At 5 o'clock in the morning, he
can
kicked
do
in the
that.
door with this young lady here at
He
5
can
in the
do
morning.
it.
Why is he kicking the door in
He
at
can-
5 in the morning?
Listen to me.
At that point, I was very afraid for my life,
Well,
Judge.
I don't
was
care whether you
very
were afraid
for my
Miss
life.
Clark, hey, I don't care whether you were afraid for your life. You locked the door. They tried to call you. You turned your phone off,
No,
and he
that's
broke
not the
the
reason
door
she was
down.
calling
Miss
me.
Clark, listen to me carefully. He has the right to do that. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. You got your $1,000, but you had no right to do what you did. The police already told you you had no right to keep him out, so you took the law into your own hands and you locked him out. And he has the right to go into his place of abode, which is where he was living with you for a long time. And he broke down the door because you had no right to lock him out.
I understand that, Judge, but at the same time, it doesn't take him to come to my home at 5 in the morning. I have small children living with me. Why is he
Clark,
coming to my home at 5 in the morning,
I don't
kicking
have
in
to
my
answer.
door?
Listen to me.
I'm afraid for my life at
I
that
don't
point.
have- Listen
and
to
he's
me,
coming
put your
with,
hands on-
with someone
You're trying to
hit
talk
me?
over me. That's not going to happen. I tried to explain it to you. The police tried to explain it to you. You didn't like their answer, and you don't like mine.
Judge, I have pictures
happens
of the
to be your-
damages that he done to
that's
my
your-
apartment here.
That's your problem.
When he kicked in the door, he damaged
Listen
my
to
coffee
me.
room table. He
That's-
broke the table.
Then you shouldn't have locked the door. The next day, you go to court and you tried to have him evicted for whatever reason.
I actually got a restraining order because I was falsely
Well,
arrested.
that's what
I
you
was
have
falsely
to do.
arrested, and I have
okay.
my witness here to attest to that. When I called the police, they came back out, and he claimed that I hit him, and he put me in jail. So he falsely arrested me on battery charges, and as a lie, because I have paperwork here also saying that no charges were filed against me. So in the midst of me being nice and helping him out, I get suckered in the end. I lose all this money in the end because I tried to help this gentleman out here.
I want to tell you something. You have children who live with you?
Yes, I do.
You don't bring somebody into your house that you've known 3 months.
I know. I learned
Just
my
a
lesson
second.
now.
Well, now you learn your lesson better. Because if there wasn't some bizarre reason for bringing him into your house after 3 months to expose him to your 2 children, bizarre reason that I don't even want to get into right now. You don't do that if you're a responsible adult and a responsible parent.
Judge, I go to work every day.
Miss Clark,
and I pay bills every day.
You made a mistake.
Yes, you're right. I made a mistake.
Acknowledge
I do.
your mistake.
I did.
And you also, if you're a hardworking lady
did.
and have 2 children that you're supporting, you don't lend somebody who's a couch sleeper $1,000 of your hard-earned money.
I learned my lesson.
Well,
right,
now
I
you're going to
did.
learn a better lesson. You get your money back, but the rest of it is your problem. You had no right to lock him out of the place where he had been living for half a year.
You owe her the $1,000 for the car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The deal was I give it to her and she give me the money, and that was the end of it.
Who pays $1,000 to someone sleeping on a couch?
That he would offer sex for money, which is prostitution.
Not if it's in your own home, is it?
I mean, we weren't together then, so it's like, do what you need to do. Stay away from losers and opportunists.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Moulton versus Umersky, step forward, please.
Salminio Moulton is suing his ex-fiancée, Andrea Umersky,